Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic, and welcome to the 6th annual Raven Awards. That's right, it's our Oscars boycott show where tonight we're going to be talking about the films that were both nominated for Best Film of the Year, Worst Film of the Year, Shill of the Year. Who is going to win? Who is going to lose? What really is winning and losing when it comes to the Ravens? Who knows? But we're going to find out all of those things tonight in what I hope to be a fun-filled Oscars boycott night, because screw the Oscars, they've been completely irrelevant for many, many years, and it just drives me insane that they are even still being given attention and are even still a thing. I started doing this now 6 years ago. Crazy to think that it's been that long, but we are where we are right now. There were a lot of really great films that came out in 2023. There were a lot of really terrible films that came out in 2023. When it comes to the good films, hopefully you've been a part of the Discord server, because I had movie watch marathons during this last week of voting before the Ravens voting closed, and a few people were able to jump in to watch things like The Iron Claw, The Holdovers, amongst others, and I hope to be able to do more movie streams in the future. But tonight is going to be a fun night, episode 486, 487 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, but most importantly, 486. Most importantly, it is the Ravens. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. We got a lot of categories to go through, and so we're going to be starting pretty soon. Going to give a few minutes, though, just to make sure that anyone who actually has an interest, has a stake at what's going to win tonight, is able to jump in. There were a few people, about 5 people actually, submitted their predictions for what they thought was going to win the best and the worst of 2023 in my Ravens bowling. I did this last year, and so I decided to do it again this year. 5 people entered, but only a few can actually win. Only a few can actually win, and the prizes this year are as follows, and I will announce these winners, unfortunately, because even though it's the Ravens, even though it's one of the special times of the year, things are always going to be crazy here in Asgard, especially with the 2 little ones now in the house. And so I did not have that extra time I was hoping to have right before the show to crunch the numbers for those 5 people that had made their predictions, because whoever has the best score, it's called Ravens Bowling, because there's 24 categories. And if you predict every single category correctly, it means you get 300 points, with your most confident being 24 points, your least confident being 1 point. You see how this goes? So for the 5 people that did it, you indeed will be called out. You will be contacted via email. Thank you all for providing those emails, so that way I can reach out to y'all. But just so y'all know, the pool of prizes that will be available to you, we've got a few copies, or rather 2 copies of the John Wick collection. This is John Wick's chapters 1 through 4 in this nice little package here. These are all available on, what is this, Blu-ray? Yes, so this is a Blu-ray collection of 1 through 4 of John Wick. Wonderful, wonderful series there. I've also got 4K Steelbooks for The Equalizer. 2 copies of 4K Steelbook of The Equalizer. Another solid franchise there. And I've also got the OG Godfather, Part 1. On 4K Steelbook as well. So a ton of prizes to give away tonight, but those are going to be for those people that were able to enter in their guesses. And unfortunately, that voting has closed. There's no ability to vote anymore. That's why it's a perk to follow on social media, to follow the community tab on YouTube, and also to look at the chats. I was able to post a link to it before the show actually began. But let's go ahead and say hello to the people, because once we get started, it's going to be rocking and rolling. So first off, unfortunately also, because this just goes to show you the kind of night that it is already, I was unable to get the show started as quickly as I wanted to, because my OBS crashed about 3 times. So if the stream crashes, just know I gave you that warning ahead of time. It shouldn't, but you never know with these things. So hopefully the crashes at the beginning of the stream were all that we needed to get out of the way, for that to not be a big thing, a big deal anymore, to not happen hopefully in the future during the stream. But just wanted to get that out of the way as well. That, crashed a few times. Because of that, my chats start at 7:27 in the chat. So Scott McKenzie Good evening to you, good sir. Thanks for being here. We got Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington, one of the biggest advocates for the Raven Awards. Very excited for the Ravens and has been for quite a while at this point. So Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington, thank you very much for being here. Johnny Lightfoot in the chat as well. We got Laura, the Mother Major General Story. Tonight I'll be wearing an outfit designed by Odin, my Pizza Time t-shirt. Yes. For anyone wondering, where's your tie and stuff? That's kind of part of the charm and part of the joke when it comes to the Ravens is that the Oscars, it's all about getting dressed up and looking fancy, but it's all a ploy. Remember, they're actors. They're adult pretenders. And so I'm just going to be like, hey, I'll dress up nice because it's an award show, but it's an Odin nice, right? It's more of my type of nice versus a formal attire event. I think the whole dressing up at the Oscars, especially when the actors are doing it, and especially when they're being asked, who are you wearing tonight? That to me is just, if you think the awards are bad, that to me is also just as cancerous in many ways. Anyway, Wendy Hunter, I know you, Wendy. My first time watching the Ravens, always happy to have you on the Salty Saturday streams over on the Salty Nerd channel. We got Slicer Neons hanging out tonight. We've also, got John Evan Bear saying, God's children are not for sale. That is one of the quotes nominated tonight for best quote or one-liner of the year. Prince Green says, do you hear that? It's the sound of freedom. That's also one of the nominations tonight. Victor Fontaine, time to say, hail Odin, everyone in the chat. Let's get this party started. Absolutely. We try not to waste too much time in the beginning getting started, because another thing that gets kind of annoying is when, okay, let's just get to the awards. So don't worry, we'll get started soon. But we do like to show love to the people as well. Let's see, Kimberly G. Killian Shadowcat, what's going on, Kimberly G? Says, howdy Odin, the great mods, and the wonderful chat. Glad I'm not watching Jimmy Kimmel. I'm wearing a Snoopy St. Patrick's Day shirt. A little early for the St. Patrick's Day, but I appreciate it nonetheless because, yeah, it is Ravens night. Ambrose Chamberpot, good evening to you. John Evan Bear, thanks for the tag. Bruce is excited as well. Candy T, who's a member, hail to you. Thank you for being here. Jonathan Bear is really excited to be here. I'm glad to hear it. Master Chudai, what's going on? Welcome back. We got Low Watermark also coming in hot. Thank you very much for the $10 super chat. Says, Odin, you look kind of dark. Maybe lighten it up? Well, because you asked, I'll go ahead and put my very fancy desk light up just one notch. Hopefully that is better. Are you saying that you couldn't see me all that well? Is that what the problem was? I'm a pretty pale-skinned guy. I'm an Irishman, so I feel like I kind of shine and glow in even the smallest amounts of light, but is what it is. Let's see. Kinkane Rumsky, what's going on, brother? Says, no bow tie. Oh, he's watching over on Rumble. No, I don't do the bow tie. I hate wearing ties in a general sense. Yeah. Hashtag screw the Oscars is right, Victor Fontaine. And that's, any question as to like, why are you wearing this or why are you doing that? Pretty much all of it has to do with, screw the Oscars. Screw them. Bruce says, the Oscars have even sidestepped their DEI requirements. Doesn't surprise me whatsoever because that's just what they do. Father, what's going on, Father Christopher Miller? Hail to you, Father. Member and chaplain of the channel says, ahoy from Parents Domicile, end of quarter break. Yeah, we're going to our spring break as well, Father. Be nice to have a little time this week. It's finally time, says Gary Banjo Sandwich. Yes, indeed. CM Chunk, what is going on? Welcome. Virtual Fireball also hanging out. We got Padre Cocinero. Hail to you. Forgot to vote. How did you forget to vote? I've been posting the link as often as I can for weeks now. For weeks. Unless you're talking about the guessing what's going to win tonight. Because that one did go out today. I was a little bit later on that one, unfortunately, but things be crazy here at home. Michael Briette, I only hope that Godzilla Minus One and The Boy and the Heron are properly celebrated with wins. Well, we're going to find out tonight what films are going to be given the praise that they deserve, what films are going to get snubbed, what people are going to get snubbed, what people are going to be praised. All of those answers given tonight. And unlike the Oscars, I also started adding this last year, where after the winner is announced, we then actually look at the charts, because we love charts here on OMB Reviews. So that way y'all can see how the votes actually panned out. You can actually see how close a movie or a person was to victory. And it's one of the things I like to add, because then you have a better understanding of, oh, that's why Odin always says, yeah, vote. Vote as early as you can. because sometimes those votes make all of the difference. There were some pretty close categories this year. Jenna Wingster says, no thanks. John Wick is overrated. I said it. Oh, Wingster. Oh, Wingster. How far you have fallen. Padre Cocinero says, Latare, absolutely. Blessed Latare Sunday, everybody out there, for the rose vestments, not pink, rose vestments worn by all of the clergy today. Shout out to y'all, especially any of my traditional Latin Mass fathers out there. Y'all are awesome. Father, who's a member, says, I'm watching on my iPad, so I can't really tag. That's sad, Father, but it's one of the benefits of being a member. You don't have to tag, but if you are talking to someone else in the chat, please make sure to tag. Great Wooda, what's going on? Welcome. Slice of Neons. Hey, brother, you have a steelbook copy of The Equalizer. Never pegged you as a fan of the show with Queen Latifah. Oh, you're so funny, Slicer. How dare you? How dare you make such an assumption? The R, sabotage. Seemed like it. Two of you hanging out on Odyssey. We got all of the channels represented tonight. We got the Odyssey fam, the D-Live fam. Sorry, D-Live. I haven't been on D-Live in quite a long time. We got the Odyssey fam, the Rumble fam, and the YouTube fam. Vanja Kostyuk. I think I'm saying that correctly. Orange Hat says, that would explain why the timer reset a few times. Yes. I don't know if y'all saw that in the beginning, but that would make a lot of sense. Glad it didn't create a new stream, because that would have been awful. Victor Fontaine, what's up, brother? Hail Odin, everyone here on Rumble. Indeed. What's going on, King of Rumsky? Do you have your version of the red carpet? Yeah, here it is. I am the red carpet. I mean, really? You want fanciness? You want fancy dresses and everything like that? We don't have time for that. We don't have time for that kind of nonsense. What are you thinking? What in the world are you thinking? Oh, man. All right. Oh, man. Low watermark. I just saw that drop. Let me go ahead and highlight that real quick. Low watermark dropping a $100 super chat saying, no, it was really dark. I was just trying to tell you about the dark background, but I'll be here for you even if you don't think I make sense. Low watermark. It's all good, brother. It's all good. I'm just always confused whenever that someone says that because, as I said, I kind of glow even in the smallest of lights. The issue is that I'm not much of a lighting guy. That's just never been my forte. And the thought of any type of like hot lights or having to set up more things that are overly complicated for me, it's like, I don't know. Just seems like a little too much. Seems like a bit overkill. I almost went in that direction at one point, but it was a little hard to try and do that. But low watermark, thank you very much for your incredible generosity. Always incredibly generous here on OMB Reviews, and I appreciate it incredibly. All right, let's say hello to a few more people, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Virtual Fireball says it's his second Ravens. Wendy Hunter, good. That's one of the things that I love about this chat and I love about this community is that we try to make all newcomers especially feel as special as they can. Emily Kruger, what's going on? Welcome. Slash Neons, have you seen the Continental miniseries? I did, and I liked it quite a bit. Icthulu, thanks for another Raven Awards and look forward to celebrating the winners. Me as well. Great Wooda. Odin, another reason why I respect Bruce Willis a lot. I remember he never dressed up for any award show. Kudos to him. Orange says, do you have a touch of ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, where you are told not to do something and have an irresistible urge to do the opposite? No, I do have family that has impacted, but no, I just have your traditional ADHD, and I in just general like saying certain things to the man. Rob D, I want Timothée Chalamet to let the sandworm loose in the Oscars auditorium. I don't even know what that means because that can mean a lot of different things. Super Anime Gamer, hey, what is up, my dude? What is going on? Victor Fontaine, let me know what you want to hear, and I'll cue it up in the holosuite. Well, there you go. Come fly with me. Come fly away. Oh, man. Why does he treat Odin like his marriage counselor? Someone treats me like a marriage counselor? Automated Snowman, hail Odin, blessed Latari Sunday. Absolutely. God bless you as well. All right. Ba-da-bum-ba-dum-bum. Michael Regas says, The Boy and the Heron did win the Oscar for Best Animated Film. Oh, if the Oscars mattered, I would care. But they don't matter. And so because of that, let's go ahead and get started tonight with the 6th Annual Raven Awards. And as you all know, I got to have my very fancy PowerPoint presentation because we like to keep things classy here. Love keeping things classy here, but let's go ahead and get started. The 6th Annual Raven Awards. And so, to get us started tonight, we've got our first category, which is Best One-Liner or Quote. As I was watching the film The Holdovers last night, I thought, man, I wish I had seen this film earlier because there's some zingers in that movie that would have also been appropriate here. But we've already got our nominations. We've heard these before. But just in case anyone has not, let's go ahead and hear them again. So here are the nominees for Best One-Liner/Quote of 2023 in film. And they are Now I Am Become Death, The Destroyer of Worlds, from Oppenheimer. Friendship Means Nothing When It's Convenient, from John Wick Chapter 4. 9 seconds, That's What I'll Give You to Decide Your Fate, from The Equalizer 3. God's Children Are Not for Sale, from Sound of Freedom. And finally, Do You Hear That? That is The Sound of Freedom, from Sound of Freedom. So Sound of Freedom getting multiple nominations in this category. Some pretty strong lines here for sure, but there can only be one winner of the Raven. And so for the first award of the 6th Annual Raven Awards, the Raven goes to Sound of Freedom. God's Children Are Not for Sale. Congratulations to Sound of Freedom picking up its first Raven of the night, and a film that really should be seen by all if you have not seen it yet. It's a very powerful film, no matter what Tony over at Deadline likes to say. If you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen me talk about this, how apparently he just has not gotten over, Tony has not gotten over the success of Sound of Freedom, because he had, in his commentary on the new film Cabrini, which is actually pretty good, he decided to say, well, the film's not doing as well as Sound of Freedom because, it's not being directed towards the QAnon conspiracy theorists. And it's like, Tony, seriously? You're going to still bring that up when talking about a movie, talking about actual real things happening right now, affecting real children across the world? Something that we should be doing so much more for and something that we should be caring a lot more for. So I'm so happy to see Sound of Freedom not only getting nominated twice here, but winning. And I think really a very powerful quote, God's Children Not for Sale, something that we should all remember, especially as we continue on in this world with all the craziness and all the crazy things that happen. So congratulations again to Sound of Freedom for winning the first Raven of the evening. And since I am a man of so many words, we're going to continue on because we like keeping things moving here on OMB Reviews. And so the next category that we have, actually, sorry, I forgot about the thing I added. So just so y'all know how dominant this was this year. So first off, to the 176 people who voted this year, who submitted their ballots, I want to say a thank you from the bottom of my heart. Last year we had a record. Last year we had well over 300, I think close to 360. So obviously we've fallen into some hard times here when it comes to filling out the ballots. I know that the first category, especially of the Best Picture, with having to do the ranking system, is complicated. I'm going to try and find a better system for future Raven Awards, but it's one that I still do like a lot. I love being able to find just how well-loved certain films are in comparisons to others, because you get more of a kind of a ranked choice type voting. For all the other categories, though, you get these very beautiful little pie charts here from the Google Forms, and so 47.7%, so almost 50% of the Raven Awards voting block had voted for this quote here, God's Children Not for Sale. We, of course, also had some other ones that got some attention. So Oppenheimer, 21% of the vote. Now I Am Become Death, The Destroyer of Worlds. After that, you then had 11.4% for John Wick Chapter 4. Friendship Means Nothing When It's Convenient, which, to be honest, is actually one of my more favorite quotes that were nominated, because if you don't know the scene, oh man, it's a very, very powerful scene taking place at the Osaka Continental in John Wick Chapter 4. So again, congratulations to Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom not getting any attention, to my knowledge, at the Ravens tonight. Sorry, not getting any attention at the Oscars tonight. That supposed award show that's supposedly supposed to award important films and, the best in film. And we all know it's a complete joke, which is why we have the Ravens here, to have fun and to actually talk about some really good films, but also to talk about some really bad films too. All right, so Best One-Liner, congratulations once again to Sound of Freedom for the first Raven of the evening. All right, the next Raven category is Best Stunt Work. The nominees for Best Stunt Work are John Wick Chapter 4, Mission Impossible 7, Extraction 2, Godzilla -1, and Gran Turismo. Stunt people, stuntmen and women often overlooked completely in award shows, especially in Hollywood, and yet they are the reason why any action film especially can ever be made. Without the stuntmen, stunt women, you would not have the amazing action films that you see on a daily basis, that you see on a yearly basis. And so we had some very, very great stunt teams working on behalf of these films, on behalf of these products, perhaps on behalf of these productions. And so I have always found it very important to try to have this category, to stay committed to this category, because as someone who actually at one point in my life thought about becoming a stuntman, they deserve so much more love and affection than what they actually give. And so we give them that attention here at the Ravens. But there can only be one stunt team. There can only be one stunt crew that can win the Raven. So the second Raven Award that's going to be awarded tonight for the best stunt work in film in 2023 is, and the Raven goes to, the team of Mission Impossible 7. Congratulations to Mission Impossible 7 winning its first Raven of the night. This was one that, to be honest, I was a little surprised by, because obviously we think of the amazing stunts done by Tom Cruise, especially in the film. But I was thinking, obviously a film like a John Wick Chapter 4, because of the amount of stunts done by so many different people, would have been something. But there's still a lot of stunts in this movie too, and I think that they're still worthy of commendation, so I truly understand why this film got the love and support it did. So again, congratulations to the stunt teams in Mission Impossible 7, obviously, especially Tom Cruise, for willing to put his life on the line for some really awesome action sequences. We'll actually see a couple of those action sequences in a little bit. The way that this broke down, though, was it was a pretty big fight between John Wick Chapter 4 and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So as you can see here, 46% of the voting block went to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. 39.2% went to John Wick Chapter 4. So this is one that could have been swayed by a few more votes, but the people spoke, and though these were the top two vote getters, only one of them could win. And so again, shout out to the stunt team for Mission Impossible 7, and again to all of the stunt teams in not only these films, but also the other films that did not get nominated this year, because there were some really good action films that came out this past year. All right, now moving on into one of the bigger categories, but still, all these categories are big, especially in my heart, and that is for Best Animated Movie. The nominees for Best Animated Movie are Suzume, The Boy and the Heron, Across the Spider-Verse, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and the Venture Brothers, Radiance is the Blood of the Baboon Heart. This was a little fun and interesting category when I was getting the nominees in with the suggestions in the early days of the ballots, when people were making their recommendations and trying to get their nominations in. And the Venture Brothers was able to get at least 2 votes, which helped it to secure its nomination, where there were obviously a lot more votes for films like Super Mario Brothers and Boy and the Heron, Across the Spider-Verse, and even a few for a film like Suzume. And obviously, you all know, out of this category, Suzume is absolutely my favorite of these animated films to come out this year, but there can only be one winner for the Raven Award. And so this year, the Best Animated Movie of 2023 and the Raven going to the Super Mario Brothers movie. All right, yeah, I'm going to have a lot to say here, because I did not like this movie. Look, I get it. I understand hardcore fans of the franchise, kids, you're going to enjoy this. For me, I just couldn't really find much love for it in my heart. I thought that the characters just, in many ways, did not work. I think especially of the voice work done by Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. That wasn't Donkey Kong. I think about Bowser being done by Jack Black, and it's like, that's not Bowser. And I think that they let their personalities just get a little bit too much into the character. Donkey Kong just became Seth Rogen, and more so, I think Jack Black just became Bowser. Bowser just became Jack Black instead. But hey, doesn't matter how I feel. This is how the voters of the Ravens felt, and this was the ultimate choice. And if you are interested to find out what the breakdown of this was, it was a pretty solid win. Obviously, a lot of the other films had their own very strong supporters, right? So, this film only got 35.8% of the votes. But because you had Suzume getting 11.4%, that film deserved a lot more love. I tried showing that a couple of times in the Discord server during the watch parties. But obviously, it is an anime, and so that's always going to have that bit of separation there. That's actually a film I'm getting this week, So that will be featured in some future giveaways. If you're part of the Keepers of Bifrost level on the Discord server, you get access to that giveaways channel. Suzume is going to be one of those prizes because there's some pretty cool versions of Suzume that is getting released this week. And so obviously there was 11.4% for that film. You also had The Boy and the Heron getting 18.8%. So Miyazaki getting 18.8%, so getting the second place spot there. And then you also had a strong contingent for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse at 14.8%. Abstain actually got more than the Venture Brothers. So that makes sense to me just because Venture Brothers is a very niche property, I guess you could say. And so it makes sense for that to not be getting as much love. But hey, shout out to the Super Mario Brothers movie because they were able to come out with the victory tonight. All right, let's go ahead and just update ourselves in the chat real quick. And then we'll jump right back into it. Great Wood says, we should have a singing act. Unless it's me doing my impersonation of Victor Fontaine. That's probably about as close as you're going to get. If this show ever gets connected with another channel for any reason, or it ever expands to that extent, maybe. But it would always have to be in jest. Orange Hat says, the lights off of Odin's head is enough to light the room. No complaining. Thank you. It was freshly shaved this morning, and so it should be extra shiny. Just for you, Orange Hat. Just for you, Orange Hat. Master Shudai says, this is to my second Raven Awards. Well, welcome back. Haven't seen Shogun yet. It's on my to-do list. I have a lot of time this week being off for spring break, and so looking forward to trying to catch up with... I got to do a lot of housework, unfortunately. It's one of the downsides of adult life. Got to clean my gutters, finally. Months and months past due. I have to take care of tax stuff. I've got to... it's awful. But I'll do what I can. Laura says, yes, we have singing. Vanja, you have said my name well enough. Okay. Glad to hear it. Padre Cosinero says, Godzilla is going to crush Char and devour the competition. Oh, those are fighting words, Padre. Fighting words. We'll find out tonight. Cthulhu, I am so ashamed I didn't nominate Black Girl Magic, biggest snub of the Ravens. Yes. If you think that there is a major snub, I want to hear it. Because it's always fun hearing the elite complain about like Oscar snubs, right? Where it's like, oh, this actress and this actor should have gotten so much more attention and they didn't get it. And it's just not fair. They're getting paid millions of dollars, but it's just not fair. But for the Ravens, it actually makes a little bit more sense to me. Hold on, let me turn my fan on real quick because this jacket's a little hot. There we go. All right. Selected Neon says, actually, thanks to inflation, the category is now best three-liner. Oh, there you go. Oh, man. All right, so people happy and excited about Sound of Freedom. Johnny Lightfoot voted for that one. It's a great line, too. It's a great line. All right, Mr. Roy, happy with that choice as well. Prince Green, great quote. End that corruption now. Agreed. Jonah Wingster, Odin, Sound of Freedom did. Yeah, that's pretty much what they are saying. That's pretty much what people like Tony are saying. Instead of actually talking about the content of what the movie discusses, they would rather go after some random comments made by the lead that was unaffiliated with the movie. Like it wasn't at an event for the film or anything like that. It's ridiculous. But it also makes sense. Gmonkey76, what's up? Gary Banjo Sandwich, yes. Abstained is a terrible movie quote anyway. This is true. Abstain being number 2 was quite the result. Oh, man. Yeah, exactly. The colors look very similar, I know. So it makes sense. Padre Cosinero, why the Raven? Elijah the Prophet, St. Benedict? Honestly, those are really good reasons to have it. But as many people know, obviously I have the nickname Odin. And so it actually comes just from Odin's Ravens. The full name of the show, and if you go back and watch previous year's shows, because we've been doing this now, this is now our 6th ever Raven Awards, you'll find that it actually used to have a much fuller name. It was the Wednesday Raven Awards. So that comes from Wednesday being a derivative of Odin's Day, obviously connected with Odin there. But I decided to shorten it just to the Raven Awards, but I actually like that quite a bit. So obviously, because I recognize those connections there, Father, and I might have to Christianize it, as it were. I mean, I already do, just by the fact that I myself am very, very vocally active about and very vocal about my faith. And people always say, but wait, you're called Odin and you're a Christian, you're a Catholic. What's this? It's like, yeah, exactly. Prince Green, let's get Tom Cruise the respect his stunts they deserve. Again, shout out to him for sure. No doubt about it. Indeed, I love it. I love having that as a category. Bruce was happy with that. Victor Fontaine was happy. Wendy Hunter was happy as well. Laura was also happy. Let's go. Hail Xenu, says Prince Green. Oh, Scientology. Prince Green says, Tommy Boy wins. Oh, man, if old school Tommy Boy was in this, that would be all-time, one of the all-time great comedies for me. Let's see. I got Suzume pre-ordered for the Blu-ray. Yeah, so there's like a collector's edition that I have a couple of copies ordered for, so I'll have that available in a giveaway, and then I've got a bunch of the regular standard Blu-rays as well. Jonah Wigster says, rigged. He says it every year. I don't hate Mario for winning on the day we got news of a second film. Yeah, again, I totally understand why it won. But as Laura's laughter seems to indicate, yeah, definitely knew I was going to say something. Father says, so I'm going to burn in purgatory a little while for watching and chuckling at the woman, quoting Monty Python, Huge Tracts of Land, doing a sign language live stream. Oh boy. Write twice a day. Wow, wouldn't have voted for Mario Bros. Yeah, I didn't either. That's why I always say, if you don't like the outcome, if you didn't vote, next time, vote. And that's one thing I am changing this year. This week, especially since I'm off this week, I'm going to be creating a form so that you can already start to submit nominations for next year's Ravens. Because as I've learned just myself, sometimes we forget about how great certain movies are. Sometimes we forget about funny lines or things like that. And so having that available means you can just keep on adding to it over the year. And again, I still need to figure out the best way, because obviously I can't make it so that you're having to nominate every single category. But then I also don't want it to necessarily be completely out of control either. So I still need to find the best way of handling that. If any of that makes sense to you and you know of a way to handle it, let me know. Let's see. King Ken Rumsky says, I admit it. I'm pretty sure I voted for Super Mario Brothers just to get under your skin. My bad. Wow. Wow. Well, he said it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's go ahead and get back into the Ravens, though. And oh man, this is one of my all-time favorite categories. All right. And yes, some people think it's similar to one of the higher categories being Shill of the Year, but there's something different about it, right? Shilling for a movie, shilling for access is one thing, but being an NPC, we're talking about pretty much complete idiocy. And we had some wonderful nominees this year, but there can only be one actual winner. So the nominees for NPC of the year are, I'm just reminding myself of all the amazing nominees, but the first nominee is Rachel Zegler, Grace Randolph, Kathleen Kennedy, President Joe Biden, and Greta Gerwig. So very strong nominating class for the NPC of the year. Non-playable character being what NPC means. In the description for this, I have essentially these are people that have no ability to think for themselves. They are essentially complete and utter dunderheads. But there's one who is the worst of the worst. There's one who this year especially did more than the others to truly show, especially in regards to film. I think that's probably what made the difference in the outcome of this one. But in regards to film, had the strongest impact, so much so that films were shifted around, and there's now a question mark of whether or not her future is going to continue. And so it is no surprise, I think, to most people to know that this year, the NPC of the year, the winner of the Raven for NPC of the year is Rachel Zegler. Congratulations to Rachel Zegler. Anyone out there who has the technology and the know-how to clip things and tag people, make sure that Rachel Zegler gets tagged on Twitter, on X, on social media to know that she is a winner. She has won something, and she has won a prestigious award. Not only has she won a Raven Award, she's also won the Raven Award for NPC of the Year. Congratulations, Rachel Zegler. You've proven yourself to be, well, there's a lot of things I could say, but I won't say. Out of my attempt at charity. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to be better. I really am. But Rachel Zegler, NPC of the Year, congratulations. Couldn't happen to a nicer person. And we'll see what happens with that Snow White movie if it ever comes out. I know it's been delayed now several times and reshoots and all that stuff, but yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out. Will her career continue or not? This is what happens when you degrade the fans. This is what happens when you degrade classics that you are supposed to be promoting and you're supposed to be trying to build a coalition of an audience for, but instead you are tearing them apart. You're tearing us apart, Rachel. But Rachel Zegler, NPC of the Year, congratulations. Couldn't happen to a nicer person. This was one where it was a pretty dominant performance from Rachel Zegler as far as the acting component of this, and that was a big key factor there, right? So obviously, Rachel Zegler won because she is the only real actor, the only one involved with really any type of entertainment, direct and purposely made entertainment. Some can make arguments for the second place winner here, which would have been President Joe Biden, but again, it was interesting that he got nominated at the Ravens this year, and I allowed it because I did think it was funny. It's like, I guess he kind of has a television presence and persona, so I guess that's fine. But I am glad that someone that's actually in the movie space was able to get in here, but it's still funny nonetheless. Third place actually going to Grace Randolph. So also, again, everyone on here, well deserving of their nomination, but congratulations again to Rachel Zegler for winning and pretty much dominating here. 43.2% for NPC of the Year. All right. Our next category is Best Visual Effects. Gotta have great visual effects. You all know I'm a stickler when it comes to visual effects, especially when it comes to CGI. And so let's talk about what are the films that you said were the best at visual effects in 2023. The nominees are Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3, Godzilla, -1, Oppenheimer, The Creator, Mission Impossible 7. It's important to note that best visual effects does not necessarily mean best CGI. Does not necessarily mean best computer imagery, right? Visual effects can be a lot of different things. Explosions are technically a part of visual effects. So I was happy to see a nice mixture of films here. Oppenheimer obviously having a lot more practical visual effects in the movie. You have obviously Godzilla using not only CGI, but I think they also were able to use some aspects of miniatures, if I'm not mistaken. I know that obviously there's a rich history to miniatures being used in Godzilla, but also a lot of great, well-used CGI in a lot of these other films. Even Guardians had some pretty good CGI at times. It is still a Marvel film, and so there definitely were some spotty parts of that. And what some of these films were able to do with the budget they had was especially impressive. But there can only be one Raven Award. There can only be one Raven Award given for Best Visual Effects. And so therefore, the Raven for Best Visual Effects this year goes to Godzilla -1. Congratulations, Godzilla -1. First Raven of the night for Godzilla. I have a feeling that this might be something that does a little bit better, especially as we continue to go through the evening. But hey, for $15 million projected of a budget, to have a film that looks that darn good is incredibly impressive. Cannot wait for this thing to come out on physical media. Unfortunately, it sounds like they're dragging their feet just a little bit. I know it's gotten an announcement that it's coming out in May on physical media in Japan. I don't think anything's been confirmed yet for the United States, though. Cannot wait for this thing to come out on physical media, though. Beautiful visual effects, beautiful use of CGI, and it goes to show you don't need to have a $200 million budget to make a film that looks amazing. I think both The Creator and Godzilla -1 were able to show you don't need all the money in the world to do a lot with. But especially Godzilla -1, only a $15 million budget doing what it did. Very, very impressive. So again, congratulations to Godzilla -1, to the entire visual effects team, especially for the director, who I know is a big part of that visual effects team. Wonderful, wonderful work there. Godzilla -1, one of the best films of the year as well. So congratulations to them. To see how it broke down, this was a pretty overwhelming win. Over 50% of the vote went to Godzilla -1 at 54.5%. The next highest vote getter was The Creator. I thought that was actually an appropriate second place finish because it was very impressive for what they did as well. They had a bit more money than Godzilla, but Godzilla, not only were they able to do a lot more with less, they also just had a wonderful, wonderful visual representation of Godzilla. And the best Godzilla film that we have seen in America in a widescreen fashion in many, many years. Because let's be honest, the MonsterVerse films do not hold up nearly as well. And I'm sure I've just triggered some MonsterVerse fans. But anyway, best visual effects, congratulations once again to Godzilla -1. All right, best cinematography. As you all know, I love camera work as well, especially when it's very effective, well-framed shots, all that good stuff. And there are some very, very good, very well-framed, well-shot films that came out in 2023. So the nominees for this year's Raven Awards for the Best Cinematography are Kozo Shibasaki for Godzilla Minus One, Dan Laustsen for John Wick Chapter 4, Fraser Taggart for Mission Impossible 7, Hoyt van Hoytema for Oppenheimer, and Oren Sofer and Greg Fraser for The Creator. So yes, indeed, there were 2 cinematographers listed for The Creator, and so therefore both of them received their nominations tonight. A very, very good list of films, especially visually. John Wick Chapter 4, visually stunning, especially with the way he was able to work with the lighting team, especially he was able to work with the visual effects team. Mission Impossible 7, being able to get those shots in the car, getting those shots of Tom Cruise jumping off of the mountain, essentially, right? Incredible. Godzilla Minus One, right? Shibasaki, right? Shibasaki. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. But again, also able to make some very just brilliantly framed shots. It looked beautiful as well. Getting to see that in the big screen also was breathtaking. So I really just cannot wait to see it again. Oppenheimer. I have my issues with the film, but the film is a beautifully shot film, and The Creator as well. Beautifully shot film. It's got some issues with it, but overall, it's a pretty solid movie and a pretty solid looking film as well. But there could only be one winner of the Raven Award this year. And so the winner for the Raven Award for Best Cinematography for 2023 goes to Kozo Shibasaki. Kozo Shibasaki. So congratulations. Godzilla Minus One once again taking a Raven Award. So racking up, what now, 2 Raven Awards for visual effects and for cinematography. Sometimes those things can go hand in hand because usually if you have good visual effects, it means the film looks good, and a good cinematographer tends to be a big part of that equation as well. So Kozo did a wonderful job with this movie. The film looked fantastic, not just the visual effects, but also the framing and also just the crispness of the image on screen as well. Godzilla's never looked better. So shout out to Kozo for being able to do such an amazing job with that. And congratulations to Godzilla Minus One. This was a very, very competitive category here because as you can see, the winner of this, Kozo, 35.2% of the vote to the second place finisher, Hoyt van Hoytema, which I'm sure there might be some that are angry that Oppenheimer did not win because Oppenheimer did have good visual effects. It had very, very, very good cinematography as well. That got 32.4% of the vote, and everything else was not even close. And so this was a very strong battle going back and forth. This was not one of the ones that was tied the day before the Ravens, but or a couple days before the Ravens when I was like, hey, need just a couple more votes here. This was one where it was always close, but you can see just how close it actually was. Again, 35.2 for the winner versus the second place finish of 32.4. So very, very close competition. And with that, we'll go back into the chat for a second. Hope that y'all are having some fun tonight. We're getting ready for most SJW screenwriters. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to that one as well because there's some doozies nominated this year for sure. All right. Let us see. Who do we have? Who we left off? Prince Screen, who's a member, says, such is life. Not getting nominated from John Wick is a snub. Yeah, I got nominated once. So this really all just comes back to it, right? Getting multiple nominations, and that's why I'm going to try to open up the nominations process a lot earlier, so that way people can remember, oh, as soon as I've seen this movie, I should probably nominate that, and then that way we can get a type of a short list going, and that way it'll be easier for people to make official nominations when we get into the new year in 2025. Crazy to think that next year we'll be going into 2025. Hardwick, I think the High Evolutionaries line is, there is no God. That's why I stepped in, was snubbed for one-liner. Yeah, I think that may have gotten maybe one vote, one nomination, but yeah, just like I said at the previous comment. CM Junk had to say, you should have Dan Vass for the musical act next year. That could be cool. That could definitely be cool. I think if I was going to add anything, I would probably do something to the effect of working first on doing a proper in memoriam. Because you know how every year these award shows will do in memoriams and then they leave people out? But that is something where if I'm going to add anything, because of the amount of work adding almost anything to the stream would be, that would be one I would be willing to work with, right? Because I think that it's important for us to give recognition to those who have lost their lives, who have given us joy in the theater, who have given us joy behind the camera, whatever it might be. So, yeah. Let's see. ZLG, who's a member, solid move on the year-long votes. Yeah, I think that will end up being a lot better. Because, again, for those that maybe have never heard me say this before about that, if you just came in on that, basically what I'm trying to say is that having that allows us to take nominations in throughout the whole year, so that way when the official nominating ballot goes out, usually I get that out at the beginning of 2020, at the beginning of the year, right, in January of the new year, right? Because that way all the films that have been released people have had a chance to see all the films that came out in a given year. Obviously, there's still going to be some films that have not been seen. But basically what that would do is that I could then create like a document to say, here are all the things that got nominated by people throughout the year, and it's almost like a short list. So you can either choose something from that list and say, oh, I forgot about that, or I forgot about that, I forgot about that. Or you can obviously come up with your own original too. Just think it might be a way of helping people, especially if a category is confusing at all. Cthulhu, I submit General Wingster for Troll of the Year. Dang, okay. All right. Yeah, I'm not one for wanting to add categories, though. I've always been very passionate about keeping it as it is. If we're going to be an Oscars boycott show, I do like having a one-to-one comparison in certain ways. Dr. Banjo Sandwich Worthington says, we forget about Dre, now we cannot forget about Ravens. J.S. Pena, sorry I'm late, being an uncle is murder. Hey, I get it. ZLG, epic list. Yeah, for NPC especially, yeah, it was big. Daddy Stu, put a chick in it. Yep, exactly. I know, people would have thought that it was her, but no, Rachel Zegler, remember, a lot of the voting was going on when she was in the news with all the interviews that were coming out and being talked about by all the different channels. So it makes a lot of sense, but that's why, again, voting is such an important thing, because sometimes things can change down the line. Exactly, Laura. Exactly. Johnny Lightfoot, I voted for Biden. Hey, at least he's getting votes somewhere, legitimately. The R, Zegler, mwahaha. There you go. Hardwick says, so far I'm bowling 3 out of 4. Nice. But remember, it's not about how well you do, it's about where your numbers are. Because if you win a big one, if you win in your smaller categories, then you lose in the big ones. That can make all the difference. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to have to do the adding probably after the show's over. I'll try and do it at the end on stream, but doing math live on air can sometimes be a little nerve-wracking. It's not 1937. Oh, yes. She did say that. Gigan Rumsky. Zegler is a winner? Weird. I know. I appreciate all these quotes that I'm sad that I'm getting the references and the intonations of these quotes that y'all are giving. Tomby, what's going on? Hope you and the family are well. Hail Chat and Mots. Hail to you. Thank you. Prince Green, the Starving Game starring NPC of the Year nominee, Rachel Zegler. Exactly. Gojira for the Atomic Breath. Oh, man. It really was just a beautiful looking movie. No doubt about it. Two of you did not see any of the movies Godzilla gonna watch. Yeah, it's great. It is great. And I recommend the others, too. And again, if you are wanting to see any of these films, please do check out the Discord channel, because I finally have figured out a way to do movie watch parties. And I was able to do marathons this week, showing a bunch of films. Prince Green, Godzilla destroyed Japan, and now he's destroyed all of the other nominees, pretty much. Orange Hat, Godzilla Minus One did a near clean sweep at the Japanese Academy Awards. I did hear about that. Have a lot more faith in the Japanese Academy Awards than the American ones, by the fact that Godzilla Minus One, which was objectively one of the best films of the year, not only getting nominated in several different categories, but actually winning in those categories as well. Padre Costanero, Dune 2 will win the Raven for Best Visual Effects next year. It might. You'd be surprised. Sometimes those sure things are not necessarily sure things. So it makes the Ravens a lot more fun. Cthulhu, finally it's time for Rebel Moon Part 1 to shine. Slash of Neons, have you watched Gojira -1 in black and white, or was that a Japan-only event? No. It did come out here. It did not come out in a theater near me. Not like I would have had the time to go see it at that time especially. But it is apparently the physical media release is supposedly having both the black and white and the colored version. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. All right. Let's see. Let's get caught up. Laura says, OMG John Cena. What? Why am I hearing horns all of a sudden? Another well-deserved dub for Godzilla Minus One. Hardwick, now I'm down 4-6. Man, shouldn't have slept on it. Prince Green is happy about that. Great Wood says, boo to Godzilla winning. Boo. Hey, it was a film that had a lot of love last year. It's also, unfortunately, this is the other thing that sometimes comes about too, is that there's a lot of people that don't watch a lot of the films that come out. And so typically the film that most people end up seeing in a given year, and a lot of people on the channel watch a certain number of movies. That's why you'll see there are several films that get nominated in various categories several times. And so it makes a little bit more sense in that way. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back into the Ravens, everybody. Hope you're having fun tonight. So our next category, another fun one for me, most SJW screenwriters. So these are writers, it's not just that they're writing bad stories, right? Because we can talk about films that are just bad, right? They're poorly written, but they're not necessarily political, right? They're not necessarily filled with the SJW, social justice warrior nonsense, right? But these are films and these are writers that absolutely have infested their movies and infested even the rest of Hollywood with their political nonsense. And so the nominees for most SJW screenwriter of 2023 are... Gotta make sure I'm on the right page, otherwise I could have ended the entire stream and that would not have been good. Anyway, the nominees are Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach for Barbie, Nia DaCosta, Megan McDonald, and Elisa Karasik for The Marvels, Jeff Loveness for Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Jez Butterworth, John Henry Butterworth, David Cupp, and James Mangold for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and Jennifer Lee and Allison Moore for the film Wish. And by the way, I indeed do have an error there. I forgot to take out the name of the movie and those parentheticals. But as you all know, things have gone crazy here at home. But oh man, yeah, these are some pretty bad movies. Not only are these objectively bad films, but they're also filled with woke propaganda as well. Some of them much more than others. But there can only be one true winner. There can only be one set of writers that truly embody the spirit of the SJW. And so therefore, the winner of the Raven Award for the most SJW screenwriter of the year is Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach for Barbie. Oh my gosh, if you have not seen Barbie, don't. It's bad. It's real bad. No matter what people try to say, it's real bad. I know there's been some people even in our community or associated or somewhat contingent with our community, parallel to our community, that tried to say that Barbie was actually anti-woke and that it was actually really deep and it really turned things on its head. No, it didn't. If you've ever seen any of the films that Greta Gerwig has done before, you know exactly the kind of personality she is and the goals that she has. The fact that Greta Gerwig and her quote-unquote partner Noah Baumbach have made this film and written this film is just no surprise, and it totally makes sense as to why this film won the Raven Award for most SJW screenwriters, because homage, the entire film, but especially that final speech given, preaching about women being treated, and all of a sudden my soul just died every second it continued to go on. So many more seconds than it ever deserved to go on, but man, oh man, congratulations to Barbie, though. Barbie winning a Raven Award. Who would have thought? But most SJW screenwriters is what they're winning. Greta Gerwig also winning here. And well-deserved. A well-deserved reward. We could argue that there are many worse elements in some of the other films nominated, but I think overall, especially when you think about how big Barbie was at the box office, how massive an appeal that it had to so many people for some reason, much bigger impact here, and the SJW nonsense was spread. As you can see, it was also a relatively competitive category. Barbie, though, dominated with 39.8% of the vote. The second place film going to Marvel, so Nia DaCosta almost got there. She almost got there, but was not quite woke enough, 23.9%, to Indiana Jones, 22.7%. But don't worry. I'm sure that all of these films that did not win here will get their justice soon enough down the line. All right. The next Raven Award category is for Best Director. That's right, for Best Director. So we all know that movies are important. We know that the scripts are important. The actors are important. The cinematographers are important. But the directors are the ones who really get things going. They're really the ones that are able to pull these things together. There's many different kinds of directors. There's visual directors. There's actors directors, right? So many different things that can happen. But the best directors, right, are the ones that are able to make not only great films, but truly films that have that quality that can go past just the year it came out and can be watched several times over for that reason. You need competent people behind the camera in order to get these films done. And so, therefore, the nominees for Best Director are Takashi Yamazaki for Godzilla -1, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for the film Oppenheimer, Chad Stahelski for John Wick Chapter 4, and Ben Affleck for Air. Definitely an interesting category. Ben Affleck sliding in the nominations kind of at the last minute. I talked about this when we broke the nominations down back in January. He was able to get enough support. Apparently, some people really liked the movie Air, thought it was well directed. Some of these other films, not nearly as much of a surprise to see them on this list. But glad to see, classic filmmakers like Martin Scorsese and Nolan both on this list, and also people who've proved themselves like Chad Stahelski, and to me, newcomer, at least as far as me knowing anything about his work, Takashi Yamazaki as well, directing Godzilla -1. But there can only be one best director. There can only be one that is better than them all. And so, therefore, the Raven Award for the best director of 2023 goes to Takashi Yamazaki for Godzilla -1. Congratulations to Takashi for winning the Oscar here. We've already seen Godzilla -1 getting some love for best visual effects, also for best cinematography, and now for best director. So we can see that this is a very powerful movie that a lot of people loved and supported. And just to show you how much love it got, 61.9% of the vote went to Takashi. So a completely overwhelming victory here, with second place going to Christopher Nolan with 25% of the vote. Obviously, there was a strong Oppenheimer contingency in the awards this year, but cannot beat the love for Takashi and for Godzilla -1 with 61.9% of the overall vote. So again, congratulations to Godzilla -1 continuing to dominate here tonight at the Raven Awards. All right, now moving on to... and we'll take a break after this one, but this is for best fight scene / action sequence of the year. So we already have given some praise to the stunt teams behind the films, but there's also, there's some scenes that are so iconic. There's some scenes that we say, oh man, I could watch this over and over again, or man, have you seen this film? You gotta see it. It's got some of the best fight sequences in it, no doubt about it. And so, therefore, this year we've got several nominees, but I've also got something special because I was able to put together a short video. Every year I've done one of these videos. I used to do one for one-liners. I did not do one this year just to try to protect the channel. So I've made about a minute-long video that will feature some of the best action sequences. I try to limit them to as short as possible. I think I try to get it between 10 and 15 seconds, which does not do these films justice, but I do like showing it because the GIFs are great, but they just don't do the same thing, I think. So anyway, the nominees, though, for best action fight sequence of the year are
Keep swinging that thing.
Oh, man. It's okay, it's okay. Whoa! Did you make it? Are you okay?
I'm trying to get away from this mountain.
All right, so hopefully you enjoy that, and hopefully the channel did not get completely struck down either. So for anyone who may have missed that, the best fight scene action sequences, the nominees are Extraction 2, the 20-minute action shot. Again, it's a 20-minute sequence, and so therefore it's like a single take, essentially, or it's meant to look like a single take, and you can only show so much of that without getting, completely destroyed, and so I wanted to just show a little bit of it, and again, it doesn't do it justice, I know, for any of these, but anyway, Extraction 2 for the 20-minute action shot. John Wick Chapter 4, Stairs. I thought I picked the perfect part of that sequence. John Wick Chapter 4, the Osaka fight sequence. So many things happen at the Osaka, and I tried to find the best one, and I found one of my favorites, which was Donnie Yen coming into the picture. Mission Impossible 7, that motorcycle sequence, and for those wondering, yes, that is Tom Cruise driving off of a cliff. And obviously, there's some CG elements there, but he actually did drive a motorcycle off of a cliff and did some, essentially some skydiving slash rock diving. I forget what it's called, mountain diving or something like that, but still, insane stuff there. And Mission Impossible 7 also for the handcuff Fiat chase. The fact that he was driving one-handed for a lot of these sequences and it's actually him driving the car is truly amazing. So many phenomenal things, but there can only be one winner, right? Some amazing fight sequences. A lot of these people also featured in the best stunt teams as well, so there's always that strong tie, right, between these two things, but there's only one action sequence that can win the best of the year. And so therefore this year, the Raven Award for the best action sequence, the best fight sequence goes to John Wick Chapter 4, the Osaka fight sequence. So many amazing parts of this film, so many amazing parts of this entire fight. Man, having Donnie Yen come in and really be able to add just a whole other level to what they were able to show in this film was great. And I know that some people have issues because of not believing the world of it, right? How can you be shot that many times? There's no type of body armor that can withstand that. That's kind of what the whole movie is about. It's meant to be in this fantastical world where these things can happen, and it's just so much fun. They know what their audience, they know who their audience is, and they're able to deliver, and I love it. So very happy to see John Wick do as well here as it did. But as you can see, this was actually a pretty strong fight, and this was one that was also very close. And so obviously the Osaka fight won 23.9% of the vote. Second place actually went also to John Wick, and so if you think about it, John Wick dominated 40% plus of the votes here, but 21% did vote instead for the stairs fight, which is also a lot of fun, especially as a stunt sequence. 18.8% went to the Mission Impossible motorcycle sequence, which is also still very impressive. And then after that, you go to Mission Impossible handcuff, Fiat, scene, and then 13.1% going to Extraction 2. That's a really good fight sequence, by the way. Extraction 1 actually did make its presence known in a previous year at the Raven Awards. I forget which one, but it did make a presence because it did feature quite a lot of fun sequences. So anyway, congratulations to John Wick Chapter 4 for winning its first Raven Award of the evening. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back into the chat. Wendy Hunter says, wow, close call indeed. Rob D, my real vote for best cinematography goes to Last Voyage of the Demeter. Oh, come on. Victor Fontaine, yeah, I thought Oppenheimer had better cinematography. Yeah, I mean, I think that they both have very good cinematography. Yeah, that's to me one of those things where I think objectively there is an argument that can be made in many different directions. Because I would actually argue that the cinematography for a film like The Holdovers is also very, very good and underrated too. So it's hard to say. Let's see. Laura says, oh no, there goes Tokyo. Go, go, Godzilla. Just reminds me how my son is now obsessed with Godzilla. The General Grievous 19, welcome back to the chat. Nearsighted Cyclops, welcome back to the chat as well. ZLG says, maybe do a monthly Google form for month by month and use the top 4 for others who missed the survey at the end of the year. That way you can, work it out a bit. Okay, to try to split it up a little bit. That's a pretty good idea. It's a pretty good idea. I'll definitely have to make something else work in the future for sure. All right. Let's see. Slicer says, for the purpose of homage, should Gojira -1 have a terrible English dub on the Steelbook? Of course. Jonathan Carney. Yo, yo, yo. What's going up, Jonathan Carney? Welcome back. Thank you for being here. Wendy Hunter says, this is way better than the Oscars. I'm glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. I try to make it as fun and as entertaining as I can. 74 people watching. Thank you again for choosing to watch tonight the Raven Awards over the garbage Oscars. Again, screw the Oscars. We like to have fun here, talking about the actual best films of the year, fun categories, but also poking fun at the worst of the year as well. Jonathan Carney says, this show is 10 times better than the Oscars. Well, appreciate that. Thank you. I need some water to wet my whistle. Let's see. Johnny Lightfoot was not happy, apparently. Mr. Roy was happy. Movie is terrible, says Jonathan Carney. Talking about Barbie there. Yes, agreed. Harwick says, now I'm up to 5 out of 7. So good job for your predictions tonight. Prince Green, guess Greta and Noah weren't enough. No, they are not enough. That is true. That is a fact. Cthulhu, as a DEI hire, I'm glad to accept this award on behalf of them. Thank you for your appreciation, Cthulhu, of course. And I appreciate you. Let's see. Father Miller says, it's bad. It's bad. Odin channeling his SNL, Dana Carvey's George H.W. Bush. Oh, no. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Father. Mr. Roy, with one of the quotes of the night, Barbie is poo. Yes. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Oh, man. That's funny. I'm sorry about that. I wish I could have muted that one. Man, Mr. Roy, thank you. So, sometimes it's just the simple things that make me laugh. Barbie is poo. Truer words have not been said. Gary Banjo says, Barbie got 50% in and bailed. Pretty much. Let's see. Michael Burgett talking about Olivia Wilde for Booksmart. Oh, man, Booksmart. I don't think... Was that... No, what year was that? Yeah, Booksmart was really bad. That's one that would have deserved a nomination there for sure. J.S. Penyon had to say, although there's a lot of TV shows that I haven't seen, I'll never watch Rick and Morty since some writers from the show have worked on She-Hulk and Ant-Man 3. I will say, as someone who's not a Rick and Morty fan but knows a lot of them, I think that they would probably argue that just because someone is a writer for a show does not, one, mean that that's actually a good sign of their quality of the quality of their writing, the work that they did on Ant-Man 3 or She-Hulk. And two, they might be a writer on there, but remember, a lot of these shows, especially from the MCU, have like a billion different writers on them. And so you have to always take that into account as well. Fun fact, by the way, and I did not know this until my son obviously is obsessed with movies and we go through different phases. And so we were watching Toy Story the other day. Did y'all know that Joss Whedon was a writer on the first Toy Story movie? Look it up. King Hen Rumsky. Did I say, how many car accidents was Barbie in the movie? Wow, King Hen Rumsky. Trying to get me in trouble. CJM, what's going on? Thank you very much for being here. Oh, man, you're right. You are absolutely right. Thank you. Thank you for calling that out. Yeah, as I had mentioned, I know that there were a couple of them in there that I didn't have time to go in and double check. You're completely right. That was Robert Eggers. I apologize from the bottom of my heart. Send apologies. You are correct. CJM. Not Chad Stileski. Yeah, again, I apologize. J.S. Pena says, I keep forgetting Ben Affleck is a director. I know, right? Remember when he was reaching the heights, right, because of the work on several of his films, and he was even being talked about to do a Batman movie, right? And there's all this exciting things being talked about. And then all of a sudden, it just kind of fell off a cliff. And it's just sad. It really is sad. People excited for Godzilla -1 winning some things there. Absolutely. Godzilla sweep, says General Grievous. Jeremy Zakowski says, I rather would eat pineapple pizza than watch Barbie. Dang. That's a pretty big sacrifice. Right, twice a day. Oppenheimer was so monolithic for his performances and visuals that I completely forgot it was from Nolan. I know, right? Harwick says, I am 6 for 8 now. Congratulations on that. Wayward Noodle says, sorry, all had to help my mom. Hail Raven Awards. No problem at all, man. Family comes first always. Cthulhu, grumble, grumble. Equalizer got such the snub for action scene. Yeah, Cthulhu, I know. But again, it all comes down to what gets nominated, what doesn't get nominated, man. Oh, yeah, Victor Fontaine. This fight scene category always makes me think of the fight on the bus and Nobody. Yeah, because that film, remember, that scene got nominated. I think that actually won the Raven Award that year, too. That's a great fight sequence as well. Kimberly G says, Osaka fight scene is the chef's kiss. It really was awesome. It was my favorite part of the movie. The entire sequence at Osaka, it was so good, it made me want them to do a spin-off on just the Osaka Continental. Bring the same actors back. Oh, man. That would be a movie I would love to keep going back to. Or I would just love that the movie to exist. Just completely based in the Osaka Continental. Prince Green, yes, Haley Atwell, my wife. I only wish. Oh, man. Base diving. There it is. Yeah, I was like, there's something for it, and my brain is just not solid enough after the day I've had to come up with it. So your average Patriot nerd, thank you for that. Yeah. Padre, I think the CGI added mist and clouds in the MI7 motorcycle scene actually hurt its impact. I agree. But also, too, there is a ramp. And so they actually CGI a mountain onto the ramp. And obviously, they had to do something like that just for safety. But it did. It did absolutely took away. And I think had they only CGI that part and not done clouds or anything like that, it would have been a lot more impactful. Because I remember watching it, even in theaters, and thinking, I know this is real, and yet it looks so fake. So I think you're right on that. It's still impressive since I know that it was actually real. Sandy was happy. Wendy Hunter was happy. Mr. Roy was happy as well. John Wick, again, the Osaka fight scene. So good, says Kimberly G. Agreed. Harvick says, I'm now down 6 out of 9. I thought the Paris sequence would win. Yeah, I mean, the stair sequence was definitely a high one. It did well, but not well enough. CM Chunk says, I like the stairs, the fight, until he was kicked back down. At that point, it just felt like they were just trying to pad the runtime. I understand what you're saying, CM Chunk, but for me, it actually came across just as it being a comedic moment. Because they were like, let's show you these amazing sequences, and then let's just have fun. It's like, what happens if someone gets kicked down all these stairs? I don't know. I thought it was funny. I thought it was played for laughs, and I think that it worked. Because I remember my theater was laughing quite a lot. So, Wendy Hunter was surprised about Joss Whedon being a writer on there. Yeah, I know. Liberty Fella, Odin Glad Boy and the Heron won at the Japanese Oscars. I know. It seems like those matter a lot more than anything that's coming out of our country these days. Hardwick says, who would want to ruin delicious pineapple by putting it on a disgusting pizza? How dare you? Intoxication Gaming. What's up, brother? Thank you very much for the $2 super chat. Saying there, much love from home, Matt Woody. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the love there. All right. Let us now head back into the Raven Awards. All right. Let's do it. So, our next category for the evening is for Breakthrough Performance. So these are the nominees that we thought they might be established actors, they might be new actors, lesser known actors, but we thought that their performances were something special. We felt like they reached a point in their career where they were able to reach certain heights that they had not yet reached, or they were so new to the scene and we were so impressed by them that we could not help but give them homage. And so therefore the nominees for Breakthrough Performance at the Ravens this year are, got to make sure I'm on the right screen again, Zac Efron, The Iron Claw, Jim Caviezel, Sound of Freedom, Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon, Sean Patrick Flannery for Nefarious, and Madeline Voiles for The Creator. This is a category I love too, giving those new performances or career-defining performances or best of their current career or one of the best of their current career performances. attention, because this is giving, I think, an eye on people that may not get into. If you were to ask, okay, who's your favorite actor, the best actor of the year, best actress of the year, things like that. And so it's much more of a fine-tuned approach. And so that's why I look at all these nominees, and even in films that I didn't really like as much, I couldn't help but just love it. Like the fact that, first off, I just, personal caveat here, Sean Patrick Flannery, Boondock Saints, people know him maybe from other things too, but most people know him from Boondock Saints. If you've not seen Nefarious, whether you like the story or the movie, or if the things that happen at the end throw you off, which I totally get, by the way, because the ending, I think, should have been cut off, personally. I think it kind of ruins it for a lot of people. But it does not take away from the fact that Sean Patrick Flannery gave an amazing performance. And it's something that I think deserves to be seen because of how much heart, how much soul, how much love he put into that performance. It's really impressive. After only ever having seen him in the Boondock Saints movies, I came out of it saying I didn't know that he could really act that well. Because again, obviously I love Boondock Saints, but it's not really something you're known. No one really talks about the acting, right? When it comes to that. Him in Nefarious, though, my gosh, powerhouse performance. So I was so happy to see him in there, but I'm happy to see all the people in here. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Iron Claw. Y'all know it's my favorite movie of the year last year. And Zac Efron was a big part of that because, man, dude got jacked for the role, looked great, fit the role very well, and gave a great performance to boot. Jim Caviezel always gives it. He did it even more so in Sound of Freedom, and also helped to give a very important message out there. Lily Gladstone, Kills the Flower Moon. Not everyone liked that one. It was kind of the film that a lot of people didn't watch. A lot of people didn't really want to give much attention to. But it's still a powerful movie. It's still a powerful movie. Very well made. Scorsese knows what he's doing behind the camera. And Lily Gladstone, who is relatively new to the scene, did a very good job and gave a very good performance there. And also the young actress, Madeline Voiles, who was the child AI in The Creator. Again, it's always great to see child actors when they are able to give great performances. Shows you that it's not just because if you think, oh, this movie's not that good because the child performers aren't that good. It's like there's good child actors out there. So obviously my hope and prayer is that she gets taken care of, that she has a good family, good mom and dad that are able to look out for her, because Hollywood is still a cesspool. But glad to see her get nominated here nonetheless. But anyway, there can only be one Raven given to breakout performance of the year, though. And so therefore, this year, the best breakout performance, the one that got more votes than anyone else, but ultimately also the one that we appreciated the most more than anything else in a very, very, very tight race, is none other than Zac Efron for the Iron Claw. Congratulations to Zac Efron winning his first Raven ever, I believe. A very powerful performance. It's a film I'm going to continue to advocate for, the Iron Claw. I cannot wait to be able to own this on physical media, to be able to give it the proper praise that it ultimately deserves. And it really is one of, if not the best films of 2023. And if you've not seen it, I highly recommend it. You don't have to even be a wrestling fan. If you are, you're going to enjoy it that much more. But even if you're not a wrestling fan, it's still very, very good. So Zac Efron, congratulations, winning the Raven for Iron Claw. But as I'd mentioned, this was a very close race. And so just to show you how close, in this case, you had Jim Caviezel versus Zac Efron. Zac Efron won with 27.8% of the vote. And just to give you an understanding of what that means, it was a win by one vote. Sorry, my allergies are going crazy. I'm going to try to mute the microphone so that way I'm not coughing on stream. Apologies again. But only one vote was separating these two. This was one that was tied going into the final. So we had just finished the Friday evening. I'd woken up Saturday and I thought, oh my goodness, we have a tie. I don't want to have a tie. And so luckily I got a few people to enter in some last minute votes. And sure enough, the winner ultimately became Zac Efron for the Iron Claw. But Jim Caviezel gave a great role, gave a great performance here too. So I was very happy that he was in the top two going back and forth. But I was also happy to see that Sean Patrick Flannery for Nefarious also was in the top three for this, giving 17.6% of the vote. I think that all of them deserve their nominations. I thought all of them did an exceptional job. But obviously, I definitely do think Zac Efron is a good winner here because, man, oh man, if you've not seen Iron Claw, it is powerful. All right, let's do another category, and then we'll take another short break. And so, worst writing story in film. So we talk about the best stories in film. We talk about things that we like a lot. We talk about SJW storytelling. But this is not just, is it political, right? Is it political hogwash? This is just bad storytelling all around, okay? So the nominees for the worst writing story in film for 2023, the Raven nominations are Rebel Moon, Part 1, The Marvels, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Barbie, and The Flash. So a couple of newcomers in the Raven nominations this evening, Rebel Moon Part 1 and The Flash getting their first nominations, but all of these films share one thing in common, and that is that their stories are terrible. My goodness, some of the worst storytelling that we have seen in cinema in quite a long time. And man, as many great films as there were in 2023, there were some real doozies as well. And these happen to be some of them. And so with all that being said, there can only be one worst story. And so the Raven Award for the worst story of 2023 in film goes to none other than Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Congratulations. This is a huge win, especially for James Mangold, who had a role in the writing of this screenplay. I think back especially to all the events that led up to the release of this movie. When he got into a fight with Matthew Kadish, when he got into a fight with the Salty Nerds, said some very unkind things to them, went after the corks, the jaw of corks that they have, went after Corky. Very, very, very unprofessional of him to do so. And he then ended up having one of the worst box office performances in all time, having one of the biggest box office flops of all time, and also one of the worst films of all time. And in this year's Ravens, getting the worst story of 2023, worst writing. And it is a bad story. If any of us can agree on anything when it comes to these movies, I think most of us can agree, yeah, Dial of Destiny, not well written at all. This was also a relatively close category. So Indiana Jones had 29% of the vote. Second place there going to The Marvels. I'm sure some people thought that film was going to win. 22.2% of the vote going to Rebel Moon Part 1. So that also had a pretty strong showing there as well. And then Barbie with 12.5%, The Flash at 10.8%. I imagine some people may have actually been predicting Barbie would win this category. But remember, when we talk about SJW political elements, absolutely Barbie is one of those top contenders. When it comes to just bad movies altogether, though, cannot get much worse than Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Anyway, let's go ahead and check out the chat. So we move along here this evening. We're starting to get to some pretty big awards this evening. Next category being most iconic film of 2023. All right. Let us see. It's blah blah, or it's ba ba. Are you doing a sheep? Is that what you are doing? I am not sure. All right. Let's see. Hardwick says Joss Whedon worked on a lot of movies as a script doctor. He was brought in late in the game on Sam Raimi's The Quick and the Dead, for example. Gary Banjo Sandwich says should have took the lift. John Wick, yes. He would have probably... his back would have been very thankful for that decision. Vestige V. What's going on, Vestige? Welcome. Appreciate you being here. Great Wood. No one was nominated for the performances in Godzilla. They did not get a whole lot of love there. Yeah, Sean Patrick was great. Sean Patrick Flannery was phenomenal in Nefarious. Victor Fontaine says the Nefarious performance I thought was great. I did too. It was so good. Kimberly G. Nefarious was tensely good. I agree. Absolutely. If I thought about potentially showing that film in class, and I think that I might just have to show it where I cut off after the execution scene, because even though it doesn't bother me all that much when they have the whole scene with Glenn Beck, because that doesn't really trigger me, for enough people, that's going to be enough to say, oh, Glenn Beck's in this? Wait, what's going on here? Wait, whoa. We were just talking about this, and now this is here. What's going on here? It's enough to take things out of it, and I think that was a bad decision on their part. Orange Hat says, if you want to see a good Sean Patrick Flannery movie, check out Powder. I figured there would be some fans of his in here. Prince Green, I voted for the creator, Robot Girl. She killed it, especially for such a young actor. Could be the next Shirley Temple. She was great. And again, I hope that she has a good family. Kimberly G says, I picked Lily, but they're all good. I agree. Lily Gladstone did a great job too. That's why I don't like how certain movies don't get a lot of love because of their subject matter or because of their association with certain people, because it really is a very powerful movie, and she's great in it. She's a big part of why that film ultimately works as well as it does. Let's see. A lot of people pretty happy about that. Yeah, glad to see Iron Claw get it nominated. I'm glad to see it get a win, for sure. I think Iron Claw deserves all the love that it could ever hope to get. Hardwick says, I'm down to 6 out of 10. I thought Jim Caviezel would win it. Dude, you were so close. As I said, it was a vote separation between them. Very, very close. Yeah, I know. Insane how close it was. Zac Efron was phenomenal. He did such a great job. CM Chunk, I really like Nefarious, but the talk show scene should have been cut. It's completely took me out of it. I agree. Completely agree, man. Like, that's how I feel too. And I've heard some people try to defend it, but if you're trying to reach out to a broader audience especially, that's not the way to do it. So I think that's when they probably would have lost a lot of people. Because imagine if you went to see the film and the story engaged you to such a degree where you started to actually care about this like spiritual battle between good and evil, then all of a sudden Glenn Beck's on your screen. And how many people that would take them away from, I don't know. Obviously, it says a lot more about the people than it does anything else, but still, I get it. Orange Chest says, Godzilla actually won in the Oscars. If only the Oscars mattered. If only they actually mattered. Agreed. Harwick down to 6 out of 11. King and Rumsky, wouldn't Jim Caviezel's breakthrough performance be The Passion? That's the thing, right? Is that you can have more than one breakthrough performance, right? Because by breakthrough, we don't just mean that it's the best of your career. It just means that more people are aware of you than before. Obviously, The Passion would be a breakthrough performance for him, but a lot of people don't really know what he's done. Obviously, I know there are some person of interest fans, but for someone like me, I really didn't know what he had done since The Passion. And Sound of Freedom really was that opportunity for a lot more people to say, oh, Jim Caviezel, he's still around, and he's still doing a great job. Let's see, Magnuson, what's going on? Yeah, Rebel Moon was awful, so it definitely deserved its nomination for sure. Indy 5 getting the recognition it deserves. Kimberly G, worst writing should have had an option of all of the above. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? Wayward Noodle, thank you very much for the $5 super chat, says, if you haven't watched Usual Suspects, you should watch it. It is a better movie than anything made in the last 10 years by far. I think The Usual Suspects is good, but there are definitely some great films that have come out over the last 10 years that I would put up against it. J.S. Pena, so my aunt just told me that Godzilla Minus One just won an Oscar for Best Visual Effects. That's good, I guess. Yeah, I mean, if the Oscars mattered, then it would be good. And guess what? It's already won a Raven Award for Best Visual Effects. It also won for Best Cinematography. Is it going to win for cinematography at the Oscars? I asked the question. Father, I literally just said that. Father. Anyway, let's go back into the awards, and then we'll jump back into the chat in a few categories. So anyway, the next category is one of my favorites as well, most iconic film. And so we're not talking about the best film of the year. We're not talking about necessarily your favorite film of the year, but objectively speaking, what is a film that you think is going to be remembered for years to come? And this could even be a bad movie, right? This could be something where it's just so well known for being good, for being bad, that you're always going to remember it. You're always going to talk about it. So that's why it's a very fun category. And the nominations this year are also quite fun as well. So the nominees are Oppenheimer, John Wick, Chapter 4, Sound of Freedom, Godzilla Minus One, and Barbie. That's right, Barbie getting nominated in a positive category. However, I think the people nominating it thought iconic in the negative sense for that movie and in the positive sense for the others. Because again, talking about films that will be remembered for years to come, there's a lot of great films in this. Oppenheimer obviously has a lot of power behind it. John Wick Chapter 4 is one that will be remembered, especially in the action movie space among John Wick's fans. Sound of Freedom is such a cultural moment when you think about what it did at the box office, the message that got out there, how powerful it was able to be in so many ways. Godzilla Minus One obviously also doing very well for the kind of movie that it is. And Barbie, love it or hate it, guess what? It made over $1 billion at the box office. It did some very, very good numbers, made a huge splash. The whole Knuff thing is dynamic and everywhere. And therefore, we could say iconic, but there can only be one winner of the Raven Award. There can only be one most iconic film of the year. And so this year, the most iconic film of which the voters on the Ravens thought this movie is going to be remembered more so than anything else for years to come. The winner of the Raven this year is Godzilla -1. Once again, picking up another Raven Award. Godzilla -1 seemingly running away with it tonight. Congratulations again to Godzilla -1 here. It is a great film. It is we could even say it is an iconic film. I know that this is also one where there's going to be some unhappy people in the chat because I know there's a lot of Oppenheimer fans out there. And Oppenheimer, I do think, is one of the most iconic films of the year. Barbie, even. As bad as a movie it is, it's iconic. It's going to be remembered for a long time and not for good reasons, I think. But ultimately, Godzilla -1 still got the most votes. And so breaking this down, as you can see, it was a battle between Godzilla -1 and Oppenheimer. So Oppenheimer getting 30.1% of the vote to 40.9% for Godzilla -1. And then John Wick and Sound of Freedom only getting 13% and 15% respectively. I kind of wish Sound of Freedom got a little bit more love here because to me, I think the message it was able to get across, why it's going to be an iconic film, I think ultimately is much to be commended and much to be talked about. Remember, too, these are just talking about the most iconic. I think all of these films will be remembered in many different ways. But again, I think that Godzilla -1 absolutely makes sense in this category to be a winner here. So congratulations again to the whole team behind Godzilla -1 making a phenomenal movie and a truly, we can now say, iconic film. And that's something that will be remembered for years to come. All right, our next category, another one of my fun categories, the most pointless character in film. So we've got good writers, bad writers. We've got good cinematography, bad cinematography, right? We got goods and bads, but we've also got, okay, there's some films where the characters themselves are just so egregious, are just so poorly written, we have to talk about them, right? You hear this happen a lot on Friday Night Tights. We talk about, man, this character sucked, or man, this was annoying. And that's why this category exists, because they deserve attention too. It's not just about the writers of the entire movie. It's also, wait a minute, someone actually had to decide, this is the kind of character I want on screen. And that makes it almost even more egregious. And so the most pointless characters in film for 2023, the nominees are Helena Shaw, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge in Indy 5. Indiana Jones, played by Harrison Ford in Indy 5. Captain Marvel, played by Brie Larson in The Marvels. Monica Rambeau, played by Teyana Paris in The Marvels. And Mira, played by Amber Heard in Aquaman 2. Oh boy, there's some pretty pointless characters in, some very good nominations this year for most pointless character, because all of them fit it in different ways. To me, Mira fits it in almost the more literal sense because her character serves no point in the story whatsoever. For those that have actually been unlucky enough to watch Aquaman 2, you know that her role is delegated to essentially nothing, so much so that there's actually never a point where she's holding her child. Fun little fact there. So pointless, she never actually even holds her child in the movie, but all of them are pointless. All of them are terribly written characters that really serve no purpose, but there can only be one most pointless character. And really another way to say this category is worst character in film. And so the winner this year for the Raven Award for the most pointless character in film goes to none other than our favorite, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Congratulations to Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I believe she actually has been nominated before for her work as L337 in Solo, A Star Wars Story. Someone check the records and let us know if that was the case. I'm pretty sure L337 got nominated. I'm not sure if it won, but definitely got nominated for Most Pointless Character. So Phoebe Waller-Bridge has been in this category before. She's got a little bit of experience playing some pretty pointless characters. And oh man, Helena Shaw, I don't care, because the character just does not matter. And to have a character and have an actress in Phoebe Waller-Bridge destroy an entire franchise. I mean, the movie itself destroys the franchise, right? Or at the very least, destroys the entire essence of Indiana Jones. But none is worse, none quickens the death more than the role of Helena Shaw, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So again, congratulations to her. This was another one where, yeah, she kind of ran away with it towards the end. So Helena Shaw, Phoebe Waller-Bridge getting 43.2% of the vote, but there was still a very strong showing by Amber Heard. A lot of people obviously critical of Amber Heard for good reason. Her character also was, objectively speaking, pointless to the story in Aquaman 2. So 30.1% of the vote for Mira. But hey, congratulations to Phoebe Waller-Bridge. You, once again, play a completely pointless character, and I cannot say I'm that surprised, and couldn't happen to a nicer person. So again, congratulations. Someone shout out Phoebe Waller-Bridge on social media. Clip this if you wish, if that's something that you do, and just let her know, hey, congratulations, you won a Raven tonight for most pointless character in film. And really, destroyer of films is Phoebe Waller-Bridge in many, many different ways. Okay, all right. We're going to have a conversation after this one because this is a big one, all right? It's funny how you would think best movie of the year, worst movie of the year, that those would be the biggest categories, but this has actually become bigger and bigger every single year. Last year especially, because there was an interesting development in the nomination process where one of our own actually got nominated. And we see once again that person has come into the nomination process. And we've got a great list here. So, the nominees for the Shills of the Year. These are people who will speak in such a way about their films, about their favorite films, about their experiences with films, to such a degree that either they actively are misrepresenting, they actively are saying the things because they're getting paid for it or because they're trying to get access to it, or they are a person where they have such a bad opinion about something that they might as well be doing it for money. And so the nominations for Shill of the Year are Rachel Zegler, Grace Randolph, Taylor Swift, Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers, and John Campea. Another fun thing about this category, John Campea, he has been nominated every single year. This is the 6th annual Raven Awards, so he is now a 6-time nominee. Has never missed a year getting nominated here. Grace Randolph also has been pretty consistent here. I don't think she's gotten 6, but she's definitely up there. Rachel Zegler being nominated and previously winning for NPC of the Year. Sometimes there's a connection between the two. Obviously, Rachel and Grace were both nominated in both categories, but there's also some separation there too. Taylor Swift being brought into the discussion, obviously, because of all the nonsense. Some would say her relationship in many ways is being shilled for attention. But again, that's a whole other can of worms there. Jeremy Geeks and Gamers. So the big one this year, of course, was his entire conversation surrounding the Super Mario Brothers movie. And now, as many of you know, I lost a bet to Jeremy Geeks and Gamers because he said the film was going to make $1 billion. I didn't think it would be possible. I was using history, logic. He was using his love for Mario, his love for Nintendo, and sure enough, his love ended up winning this time around, and he won that he won that bet between us. But funny enough, I didn't nominate him in this category. Enough people nominated him, and they kept saying, man, oh man, he shilled so hard for Mario in so many different ways. And so in I think it was last year in his nomination, the primary film that people went to was The Tomorrow War, right? He spoke so heavily of that one, but the movie just wasn't good. I would say the same can be said also for Super Mario Brothers movie. It's just not that great of a film, but obviously a lot of people love it. Can't take that away from it. But he's obviously a big fan too, so it makes complete sense. But it's always fun seeing him once again get nominated this year, and putting him next to John Campea is just, again, there's just something cathartic about that. There's something cathartic about it. But anyway, I digress. John Campea, 6-year nominee. Was this the year? Is this the year that John Campea finally wins? Finally shows himself to be the ultimate shill of the year? Well, let's find out, because there can only be one shill of the year. And this year, the shill of the year for 2023, the Raven Award, goes to none other Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers. I wish I was making this up, but Jeremy, dude, you got nominated once again, and the voters were very vocal about this. Now, I will say it was a pretty close race. It was not one that he ran away with by any means, and also I love using this old picture of Jeremy for this one. Much love to you, brother. For the record, I am a writer at Geeks and Gamers. I love writing for the box office for geeksandgamers.com. I love Jeremy as well. But the people have spoken. The people have spoken. So Jeremy, 2-time nominee and now 2-time winner. He's 2 for 2, everybody. He's been nominated twice this year, last year, and now he's won twice as well. Congratulations, man. And John Campea continues to be the bridesmaid, never the bride. Maybe next time, John, you keep shilling. You keep walking around in your backyard saying very weird things. Maybe next year. But hey, not this year. Just to show you how close the vote actually was, 20.5. This was actually another one of the categories that was so close. I needed those extra few votes because at one point, Rachel Zegler and Jeremy actually had the same number of votes. So as you can see, Jeremy did come out with the win with 20.5% of the vote. Second place went to Rachel Zegler with 19.9% of the vote. Taylor Swift got 19.3%. John Campea had a pretty strong showing this year with 18.8% of the vote. So you almost got there, John Campea. You almost did. You just got to shill a little bit harder, all right? Do better. Do better, buddy. Maybe getting back onto social media instead of off in your little leftist echo chamber might help you in that category, but I digress. All right, let's head into the chat now. Abomination, what's the Morbius of 2023? Oh, 2023, I don't even know if there is one. We can absolutely say that of 2024, it would be Madam Web. Your average patron nerd says, Jim Caviezel was also good in The Count of Monte Cristo. Yeah, but again, there's not a lot of films more recently since The Passion. That's what I think, at least. Print screen, Oppenheimer was okay, but it is the most iconic. It is definitely up there, for sure. Cthulhu, the room will be remembered for years to come. It will be. The room is iconic. There's no doubt about that. Abomination would be funny if the Knuff memes lasted for years. I think they probably will. Some people happy about it, of course. Victor Fontaine said, I figured it'd be Godzilla. Godzilla got a lot of love. Hardwick says, I'm now 7 out of 12. Yeah, it's always hard to predict where the audience will go with different things. Yes, Wendy, indeed, Godzilla's killing it. Godzilla is sweeping the Ravens tonight. Great Wood, time to say, people are going to forget Godzilla -1 just like how people forgot the first Godzilla film or even Godzilla 1985. Yes, because people forgot those movies. What? What are you talking about? Those films are still remembered and beloved. Print screen, really hope it's Helena in Indy 5. Well, hey, you got what you wanted. Sasha Neon says, I suspect many will nominate Zendaya's Chani as most pointless character next year. She is not liked in that role. No, she's not. And heck, I might even nominate her in that role because it's my biggest issue. And it's a huge issue that I have with that movie. Mira punched that window in the trailer, says Abomination. Yeah. Prince Screen, didn't like Mira, but Aquaman 2 was fun. No, Prince Screen. No. Obviously, you can like whatever you want to like, but no, dude. That was Climate Change the movie. Just nonstop hitting you with the message. King and Rumsky, I think most pointless characters should have had all of the above as well. Sure. Hardwick, to be fair, would you trust Amber Heard to hold your child? No. But in her movie, Hardwick is up to 8 out of 13. Nice. Well done. Phoebe absolutely deserved that award. Old Peculiar says, she is a bridge too far. I see what you did there. Oh, the Morag nominated and won most pointless character in 2018. 2-time winner now. Boom, there it is. She did. Thank you. So sure enough, for most pointless character, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who did the voice of L337, was nominated back in 2018 and won that year. So she now has 2 characters. 2-time nominee, 2-time winner. Congratulations. Abomination. Odin. Abomination says Odin stalling because he won Shill of the Year. No, I mean, there were definitely some nominations, but it was not nearly enough. Let's see. Orange Chat says, I don't know why Jeremy is a nominee this year. This is a waste, objectively speaking. Again, I think it depends on how we define shill. I think if you're in a much more of a technical definition, then yes, I would agree. But hey, I think it's hilarious. I think it's funny. So, plus the fact that we also at the same time get to keep people like John Campea from winning something makes me happy. Kimberly G, Grace Randolph for The Vader. Abomination, James Gunn, The Flash is the best movie I ever saw. Oh man, you're right. John Evan Bear, Chris Stuckman. Dude, so Chris Stuckman has been nominated several times, and he just missed out. He just missed out. In fact, that was a category I had to get help from my Raven Awards Council on critic lists because I just didn't have a lot of nominations, and he only had one, and he was not one of the top vote getters. I think he just missed out by a vote or two to get into the nominees, to be on the nominees. So definitely up there though. Campea was backing Zack Snyder in his comments on Joe Rogan's show this week. Yeah, dude. So Campea for sure is gonna get nominated again. I have no doubt about it. J.S. Pena, Christy Mayer was snubbed for Shill of the Year. Her Barbie review sucked. J.S. Pena, I think I remember seeing, there may have been one or two times that she got nominated, but it was not enough. Gary Banjo Sandwich says, we need a category for spoiler of the year. RMB is a repeat offender. CM Chunk. Jeremy without a hat will haunt my dreams tonight. You're welcome. You are welcome. People say, let's go. Yeah, boy. People happy. People happy. That's what it's all about. That forehead certainly explains the ball cap. Our every year winner. All right, so seriously, though, next year, unless he actually shills hard for something, I hope that we can move on. But the 2 times a year thing is great. Victor Fontaine. Jeremy was chilling really heavy for Avatar 2 at the start. Oh, you're right, Victor. You're right. Oh, that's right. He was big on Avatar 2. Hardwick says, down to 8 out of 14. My prediction was Campea. Never put your money on Campea, man. Kimberly G. Put a hat on him stat. Kincaid Rumsky. For Jeremy. Someone tag him. I'm sure he's going to be like, oh, yeah, that's just, okay, yeah, Odin's doing his random thing. Why should I care? But congratulations again to Jeremy for winning Shill of the Year. Prince Green, are Jeremy and John secretly brothers? Maybe. Who can say? Who can say? Laura says, so intense. I know, right? So intense in that photo. I'm just happy that I have it. Nation, a lot of people abstained when they could have just picked Jeremy. Oh man, you're right. Rob D, next year John Campea needs to lose by just 1 vote. I mean, again, I make it as legitimate as I can. So if that's going to happen, y'all will have to try to work that out naturally, because I will have no part in it. Bruce, Godzilla -1 wins Best Visual Effects. Yeah, it won the Raven Award tonight. If we're talking about award shows that matter, then yes, it did win the Raven Award. You are correct. J.S. Pena was probably that nomination. I think you were. Yeah, because it was on there. I was like, okay, no, I respect it. As you can clearly see, the fact that Jeremy's on here, I don't keep people that I like, people that I know off of the list. But that's why I always say we need more people nominating. And that's why I'm hoping to get more nominees by doing some alternative method this coming year. All right, let's get back to it, everybody. Oop. Got to put it actually on the screen. There we go. All right, so now the next nomination, the next category is most critically acclaimed piece of garbage film. And so kind of similar to the difference between having the most SJW screenwriters versus having the worst movie, right? There's differences there. So here we're not talking about the worst movie of the year. We're talking about, okay, what is something that was critically acclaimed, right? Given so much praise, so much love, and at the same time was just a garbage movie, right? So it had the love, it had the acclaim from either audiences or critics, but in reality, it just wasn't very good. And so therefore, the nominees for most critically acclaimed piece of garbage film of 2023 are the following: The Marvels, Barbie, Poor Things, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So again, some of these films, they got way too high praise from critics. Think of The Marvels, Barbie, Poor Things as examples. In other cases, the audiences gave a little bit too much praise to it, and the film really wasn't as good as many were saying. This is where the Super Mario Brothers movie comes into play. And oh boy, yes. Or it feels like Indiana Jones, where they really should have gotten a lot more, criticism, and we're given a lot of passes for various reasons. But yeah, all of these films are just not very good. And some might say, I don't know if Mario should be in there. Look, objectively speaking, the film really isn't that great. It's a fun movie, subjectively for a lot of people, for sure. But there's some objective problems with it, especially when we talk about the characters themselves. But again, we've talked enough about that difference there. I'm just happy Poor Things got in here because I've not seen it. I have no desire to see it. It just seems like a very, very weird, not just a weird movie, but the fact that you have a Frankenstein creation, right? The Frankenstein's monster creation being someone where in the film they make it clear that she has the brain of a child, and then is having relations with adult men. Yeah, that's gonna make me immediately go like, no, I have no desire to see that. That's just creepy and weird, and it just sounds awful. So happy to see that film get nominated here for that very reason. But there can only be one winner. There can only be one film that was critically acclaimed, that received praise from either audiences or critics. And at the same time, it's just not a good movie. And so therefore, the most critically acclaimed piece of garbage film of 2023 is Barbie. Congratulations to Barbie. Barbie is now a multi-winner tonight, taking most SJW screenwriters and now most critically acclaimed piece of garbage, because this film received so much praise from the audience, from the critics, and from many people in the audience, in fact, even people that are friends of this channel. And it's not a good movie. It's just not a good film. It's a film that really, honestly, you just scratch your head at and say, why did this film make as much money as it did? The marketing campaign for it was brilliant. The movie, on the other hand, not so good. But again, congratulations to Barbie, most critically acclaimed piece of garbage film. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And just to show you how bad it was, it dominated this category. So 42.6% of the vote going to Barbie. Second place was actually Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, getting 26.1% of the vote, with the Marvels getting the next slice after that. Poor Things, I don't think was seen by enough people for people to actually even really care to vote for it. But hey, congratulations to one of the worst films of the year in Barbie. And again, not the worst film of the year. We haven't gotten to that category yet. But as far as films that receive some type of praise, but actually objectively are not very good, Barbie definitely is taking the cake in that way. All right, now we go on to the next category, the most overrated film of the year. Ah, yes, this is my favorite combination of categories. First, starting off with the most overrated film, and then going to the most underrated film. And so this year, the most overrated film of the year, and this can again be not just overrated by critics, but also by audiences as well. Doesn't necessarily have to be a bad movie, though. This is the difference between this and the last category. This can include films that are good, that maybe even we enjoy, but we also can admit that they're overrated. Okay, and so you're going to see some pretty good movies in this category, some films that maybe have gotten some positive praise tonight. But the nominees for most overrated film of the year are The Marvels, Across the Spider-Verse, John Wick Chapter 4, Oppenheimer, and Barbie. So obviously we've got a mixed bag here, right? Because I know that it's pretty much 50-50, it seems sometimes. Pretty mixed with Across the Spider-Verse. John Wick has a lot more universal praise, but there's still some critics, and I think that shows by the fact that it got nominated here. Oppenheimer, the same thing. A lot of praise universally, but also some people say, you know what, yeah, it's a good movie, but it's not as good as people are saying that it is. That's kind of where I fall in it. Thought it was good, but really not that great. There's some wonderful things in it. I'm also feeling the same way when it comes to Spider-Verse, and especially with films like with Barbie and Marvels, because again, Barbie got way too much praise from both sides of it, and Marvels just is not good, all right? But there can only be one most overrated film. I think all of them deserve their nominations in different ways, but the most overrated film of 2023 and the winner of the Raven Award for it this year is none other than Barbie. Once again, congratulations to Barbie. Greta Gerwig is sweeping these categories, right? Barbie picking up a lot of the worst of 2023. SJW screenwriters being the most critically acclaimed piece of garbage, and now the most overrated in a general sense. So Barbie, congratulations on once again proving yourself to be not only overrated, but just not a good time either. This was dominant in the category. 55.1% of voters choosing Barbie as the most overrated film of the year, because it really is overrated in different ways, with 19.3% going to Across the Spider-Verse, 10.2% going to The Marvels, 9.7% going to Oppenheimer, and a very small, not even really identifiable percentage going to John Wick Chapter 4. So anyway, I know that there's some people tonight that think John Wick Chapter 4 is overrated, but apparently in a very small minority in compared to the other films mentioned here. But again, Barbie, absolutely the most overrated film of the year. I think that is a well-deserving win for it. Now, this is the next category that was, I like this film. I like this category a lot more than overrated because I like giving praise to films that just don't get nearly enough attention. People have not seen, people should see, and that's why this category always means a lot to me and has a very special place in my heart. So now, the other side of the coin here, talking about films that are really good. Films that are actually so good that the fact they didn't get as much attention is actually quite sad. So the most underrated films of 2023 are Dungeons & Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, Gran Turismo, Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, The Creator, and Iron Claw. As I said, this is a very good category, and actually this is one of my favorite grouping of nominees also, as I think all of these films are solid with the exception of Dungeons & Dragons because I've not seen it, but I've heard a lot of people say it actually was a lot better than it had any right to be, which is the whole concept of being underrated, right? But Gran Turismo, darn good time. No one saw it, unfortunately. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, amazing film. One of the best films of the year, in fact, I would say. Nobody saw it. And the same, I think, could also be said for The Creator and Iron Claw. That's why if you join the Discord server and join some of the movie watch parties, some of the films I plan on showing are films like Iron Claw, like The Creator, like The Holdovers, right? Which I would put in this category as well. But again, these are films that just no one saw. They may have gotten high praise from critics and maybe even from the audiences that saw them, but not a lot of people really saw them, unfortunately. And so, again, great category. This is a great list of nominees this year, but there can only be one most underrated film of the year. And honestly, this one just makes me so happy because the winner of the Raven for most underrated film of the year is none other than my favorite movie of last year, The Iron Claw. Oh man, this movie tears at your heartstrings. Great drama. And to me, this is a drama that is something, you know how there's like chick flicks, right? There's movies that typically female audiences are drawn to and they appreciate. Iron Claw is like a dude flick where it's got those dramatic elements to it, but it's the type of drama that you can really hang on to as a guy, especially. I don't know. There's something, because there's a story about brotherhood in this. There's a story about the relationship between father and son in this too. And it's heartbreaking. If you don't know anything about the Von Erich family, oh my gosh, it's going to pull at your heartstrings. But I was so happy that this film got nominated, so happy this film got the victory here too, because it really was underrated. This is a film that I think should have gotten a lot more love. It's one of the reasons why I was showing this film so much in the Discord, because I was like, I don't think anyone's seen this, and it's just so good. And I don't think people realize how good this film actually is. And again, this was a very close category too, though, right? 27.3% of the vote went to Iron Claw. There was a strong contingency, though, for Dungeons & Dragons, Honor Amongst Thieves. And so clearly it's the film that I need to watch at some point, though, because 25.6% of the Raven Awards votes went to that movie. So congratulations to Iron Claw. But hey, Dungeons & Dragons was within striking distance. I actually got worried towards the end. I was like, oh, man. Because I was happy. I was like, oh, man, look, okay. Iron Claw is doing pretty well here. Might actually get a victory here. I'm happy to see that. But then Dungeons & Dragons started coming up, and I was like, oh, man, what's going to happen? And sure enough, it was able to hold it off. So, again, congratulations, Iron Claw. Phenomenal movie. Go watch it. It is great. All right. Now, we'll do the next set of categories here, and then we'll take maybe our final break of the evening. We'll see. But let's go ahead to one that I know Hardwick hates. I have a feeling. I feel like he's mentioned it before, too. But I love it because of how ridiculous it is. It's part of the reason why we do the show, right? It's not just to talk about the best and worst of the films of the year, but also just to have fun with it too, right? Because let's be honest, there's almost nothing original these days. It's always going to be a remake, a reboot, a sequel, a prequel. There's going to be something, right? And so we know that there are some, however, that are good, right? I myself am the person where I consider all of these things to be mostly pointless, right? There's some good ones, of course, but they're mostly pointless, but there's some that are done well. Right? There's some that are actually done pretty well, that are actually pretty good. And so the best pointless remake, reboot, sequel, prequel, so this is a positive category, of course. The nominees are Godzilla Minus One. There's obviously been many different Godzilla films. John Wick Chapter 4, number 4 in the series. Mission Impossible 7. Hopefully the 7 is a giveaway. Wonka. That's right. Kind of this prequel reboot of sorts. And the Equalizer 3. So Equalizer 3 finally getting a little bit more love here. It's been a while since a nomination. I believe its only other nomination is for Best One-Liner, which was the first category of the evening. And so glad to see Equalizer 3 get a little bit more love here. And again, all these films are good. Wonka is one that was surprising. I actually watched it with my wife last night because she had not seen it yet. And she had a very similar opinion that I did, saying, you know what, this is an inoffensive movie that is one that I think my kid might actually watch, and I wouldn't have a problem watching it because it's inoffensive and it's just fun. It's kind of like what Paddington is, what Paddington 2 is, same creators, same minds behind it. It's not as good as those movies, but it's still fun, right? It still has a lot of life and a lot of heart into it as well. So these are the best of the best when it comes to still being, pointless remakes, reboots, sequels, prequels. It's like, come on, start writing some original ideas and let's just maybe stop some of these franchises that have gone on a bit too long. But there can only be one winner. And so therefore, the audience has said that the best pointless film, remake, reboot, etc., of 2023 is none other, of course, than Godzilla Minus One. Godzilla Minus One, once again coming in strong and taking this category. It's been dominating pretty much every category it's been in this evening. And man, it is destroying all things. Just like Tokyo, it is destroying everything in its sights, everything in its path. And as you can see here, another dominating performance for the best of these films. 44.9% of the vote went to Godzilla, with second place being at 16.5%, going to John Wick Chapter 4. After that, then going to Wonka. So Wonka got a little bit of praise there at 14.2%, 10.8% going to The Equalizer 3. And then the last place, 9.5%, going to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 or Mission Impossible 7. So again, shout out to Godzilla Minus One continuing its domination here at the Raven Awards. Again, these are the kind of things that we should be seeing in these mainstream awards, right? Godzilla really is one of the best films of the year, and it should be getting a lot more attention than just for visual effects. Looking at you, Oscars. And then the second part of this is the worst. Just as there are good ones, there are also some bad ones too. In previous years, there's been some funny crossovers. There's been some films that have been nominated for the best one and also later nominated for the worst, because there's varying opinions on these things. But this year, we do have some pretty bad ones. So the worst remakes, reboot, sequels, right? The worst of the pointless ones is again, it's pretty much guaranteed part of the title for this as well. So anyway, the nominees are Expendables, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Mania, The Little Mermaid, and The Marvels. I also like this category because it does specify people's thoughts to say, I have to think about something that's a part of a franchise, that's a part of a series, that is a part of something bigger than itself. And it leads to a lot of fun nominations. And this is no different. Really enjoy this category. Really enjoy also the nominees that we have this year as well, because these are really bad movies. And all of them fit these different categories in different ways. But there can only be one that is the absolute worst. And so, therefore, without further ado, the Raven Award for the worst remake, reboot, etc. of 2023 is none other than Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So, once again, winning an award, one of the bad categories, because it really is one of the worst films of the year. Dial of Destiny taking it once again. Congratulations, James Mangold. I don't know if I think I'm blocked on you on Twitter still, but I hope that you are enjoying how poorly your film is doing, not only in a general sense, but also, of course, tonight here at the Ravens, or how well it's doing. It's winning awards. I guess that's fun. That's nice, right? But Indiana Jones winning this, and it was a pretty dominating performance. I was surprised because we had seen some pretty even splits, but people were pretty much all together on this saying, no. This is going to be the worst when it comes to this specific category. 55.1% of audiences who voted choosing Dial of Destiny, with the number 2 spot going to The Little Mermaid at 18.2%, 14.2% going to The Marvels. And to be honest, I think Expendables did as poorly as it did here because no one saw it. Because why would you want to see that? I don't know. But anyway, all right. So before we get into our last categories of the evening, including one of my all-time favorites, Best Low Budget Movie, because it makes people have to think and do math, and I love that. Before the Ravens this year, I also put out a ballot saying, hey, what categories do you want to keep or change? And if you want to change, what's kind of your reasoning behind it, or what would you replace it with? And unfortunately, Best Low Budget got attacked by some people. But enough people said, nope, let's keep it. Overwhelmingly, all the categories, in fact, were kept this year, which I appreciated. But before we get to that one, let's go in. So, Jeremy won Shill of the Year once again. Let's see. Hardwick. Jeremy looks vaguely like a character from Green Acres. You're right. Clevis McDonald. I am late. This is everyone's fault, but mine. Of course it is. Of course it is. By the way, 80 people watching. Thank you very much for watching tonight. Smash that like button. Share this out with your friends as well. Tell them, screw the Oscars. It's all about the Ravens tonight, as we are getting close to the end of the night with some of the biggest awards. Jez Pena says, still, I can't be too harsh to Chrissy. Maybe a little, since she's having a baby. Yeah, I know, right? You don't want to metaphorically be spraying pepper spray into a pregnant woman's face. That would not be cool. That would not be nice. Prince Green, give to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny again. Exactly. A lot of love given to it. Victor Fontaine, I watched Poor Things last night. It was really bad. Oh, God bless you, man. God bless you. Michael A. Barbie, only based on the disparity between critical acclaim and everyone else who is sane. Yep, pretty much there. Pretty much. Cleveland McDonald says, Mario was decent by 2024 metrics. It's up there with Citizen Kane. And I think that's my issue, and that's kind of also why Jeremy gets into that shill category, because saying something is good because it's not woke, or saying something is good because it's not as bad as something else, is not a very good argument. And so I think that's why those things tend to get attention. Gary Banjo Sandwich says, Poor Things needed Sydney Sweeney as the girl to make it a hit. Oh, good grief. Hardwick, up to 9 out of 15. Nice. Very well done there. Let us see. Just making sure. I think I may have had my phone on something. Okay, cool. Just making sure. I was like, I just don't want my wife to be like messaging me being like, hey, how's it going? I need help. Cleveland McDonald says, didn't watch Barbenheimer. I feel just peachy. Very nice. Very, very nice. Orange Hat says, John Cena naked on stage, yet women in Hollywood whine about being objectified. I'm happy to boycott the Oscars. Ravens is much more respectable than the Hollywood ego party. Dude, seriously? Ugh. That is ridiculous. Sorry. I thought I smelled something, and as we all know, there has been a stream before where my dogs have done their business during a stream. I think it might just be gas. I'm hoping it is just gas on their part. But, man, does it make me miss watching those things? Hearing that happened. Good grief, dude. And I know that's probably all a publicity stunt because they're trying to get people to watch their new show. Because didn't he make an OnlyFans too to support his show? I mean, look, I know some people might find that funny, but I just think that's it's diabolical, to be perfectly frank. It's ridiculous. All right, let's see. You forgot Godzilla. Did I? Well, apologize. Mr. Roy was happy with that. Barbie is sweeping the Ravens. It's definitely sweeping certain categories. Harwick got up to 10 out of 16 because of that one. Voted for Spider-Verse. For Amber's Chamber Pot. Very good. Very good. D&D sucks, says Jeremy. Yeah, a lot of people liked it. So, Gran Turismo was great. Wendy Hunter, absolutely. I did not care for the creator. Yeah, I mean, it's not the best film of the year. It's definitely a B movie for me, but I think it's definitely underrated for sure. Let's see. Icthulu says, I enjoyed D&D a lot for what it was, but it wasn't better than a 7 out of 10. Okay. Laura says, D&D was fun. That's what I've been hearing. That is what I've been hearing. Iron Claw was phenomenal. Hardwick up to 11 out of 17. Victor Fontaine, the creator, had a pacing and dialogue issue. I lost interest about halfway through it. Yeah, I hear that. Mr. Roy, dude flick. Oh, man. Let's see. Prince Green, Chapter 4 was great. I liked it too. I definitely liked it too. Laura was happy with that victory. Of course, Godzilla, it's been sweeping. 12 out of 18 for Hardwick. I liked all of those pointless films. I know. I like saying it that way, though. It's fun to say it that way. We need it on Blu-ray. Agreed. Print screen, Godzilla was good, but Wick 4 deserved to win. Hey, again, I think that a lot of them deserve their nominations for different reasons, but yeah. Getting now to, yep, they were pretty bad. Hardwick up to 13 out of 19. Let's see. James Mangold sowed what he reaped, says Print Screen. Agreed. Definitely agreed there. Thulu, the best low budget is too high a budget number. Should be less than 15 million. But that's just the thing, though, is that you think about most modern Hollywood movies, and we still call that low budget. Making it lower than that number would actually make it a lot harder to find certain nominations. And again, it kind of also loses the meaning of it. The fact is that you can have a good movie made for under 25 million, for under 40 million, right? These are all numbers I would consider to be lower budget. Because you think about what even a film like Air, for instance, which to my knowledge doesn't have a lot of CG or anything like that, costs to like $80-85 million. So yeah, that's the reason why I have it there. Jeremy Skowski, only way to stop Godzilla from winning more the Raven Awards is an oxygen destroyer. Yes, that would be correct. Oh, Nation, I wouldn't be comfortable with Sydney and her huge tracts of land having the personality of a child. No, doesn't matter who's in that role. It's going to be creepy and it's inappropriate. Kane Rumsky says, I think an Oscar would be a great place to put your extra TP rolls in the bathroom. Agreed. Michael Briat, the Cena stunt was an homage to the Streaker 50 years ago at the Oscars, and probably also, again, a way of trying to, Harvick says, to be fair, X-Ray has... oh, please. Let's see. Bruce, and I've had my cats lay on top of my computer chair, a high-back exec chair. Those farts are right at head level. Oh, no. You can see me. Do. Steven, this is how Hollywood uses publicity stunt by having John Cena on stage. Hypocrites. Imagine if it was Scarlett Johansson. They would never have it. Amazing Bacon Soda. Hi, watching the Ravens while having breakfast. Well, hey, good morning to you. It is evening here in the States. All right, let's go ahead and head back into it. So I think this will be our last stretch for the evening. Let me go ahead and just crack the neck for a second and get into it. So best low budget movie. Oh man, great category, right? There is a limit on the budgets, and I think that all of them are well deserving here. So the nominees and their budgets for best low budget films of the year are. Oop. I did it again. All right, there we go. Nominees are Godzilla -1, which cost $15 million. It's impressive. The Iron Claw, costing only $15 million. Sisu, costing $6.5 million. Sound of Freedom, costing $14.5 million. Talk to Me, costing only $4.5 million. I love this category, especially because, as you can see, there's certain films that have not been talked about tonight and would not be talked about at all this year unless there was a category like this. It starts to make you think, okay, obviously, when we think about our favorite movies, Godzilla is going to be up there. But when you start to think about, okay, but now I have to think about it on a limited budget, it also makes you realize, oh, I didn't even know that Iron Claw cost 15 or Sisu cost 6.5 or Talk to Me only cost 4.5 million. And it just makes you appreciate the films that much more. However, there can only be one winner. And when you take into account, especially all the things related to a budget and what it takes to make a movie, the winner for the best low budget movie of 2023 and the winner of the Raven Award this year is none other than Godzilla -1. And look, I know that this movie has been sweeping the Ravens tonight, but keep in mind, this is one where it makes a lot more sense. A $15 million budget and you're able to do what you did with that film, that is darn impressive to say the least. So congratulations once again to Godzilla -1, sweeping the Ravens this year, doing such a great job this night at the Ravens. And just to show you how dominant this was, 54% of voters chose Godzilla -1. There was a strong contingent for Sound of Freedom, getting 19.3% of the vote. And then the next category of Sisu getting 8% for me. I was all about Iron Claw. I think that film is just phenomenal. But again, makes sense for what the film is, for what you were able to do with $15 million. Hey, this is one where Godzilla absolutely deserves the victory here. All right, the next category is Best Story in Film. So we talked about the worst story in film. Now let's talk about the best story in film. So this is not just about the films that we liked, but what we thought actually had a good story. So the nominees for Best Story in Film this year are Godzilla, -1. Gran Turismo, The Iron Claw, Sound of Freedom, and Nefarious. Was happy to see Nefarious get in here. Two nominations, I should say, for breakout performance from Sean Patrick Flannery earlier. Did not win that category, but still nominated. And now for Best Story in Film, the writing of Nefarious is fantastic. Until the very end, everything is pretty tight. And the entire conversation between the demonically possessed inmate and the atheistic psychologist is just prime stuff. All the films, I think that for me, Gran Turismo didn't have that great of a story. Sound of Freedom had a phenomenal story. Kind of fell off at the end, though, when they decided to go away from the reality and the history of what actually happened. I felt like the film would have actually been better served had it stopped at the island or talked about the other two raids that were happening simultaneously at that time. But again, I digress. But all the films had good stories for sure, but there can only be one best story of 2023. And so the Raven Award this year for Best Story of 2023 in film goes to, once again, Godzilla -1. I really shouldn't be surprised at this point. Godzilla is continuing its dominance. Poor Tokyo, represented by all the others, is getting smushed, and 48.9% of the votes went to Godzilla. Again, dominant performance. Dominant performance. This is why voting is so important, because sometimes you can make a difference. And if you were happy with this outcome, great. You could have made that number even more. Could have made it over 50%. But still strong. And the Sound of Freedom getting 22.2% of the vote here. So again, shout out to all the films nominated, but Godzilla -1 continuing to do very well. I doubt it will win a screenplay award at the other award shows this evening. Now, getting into the top categories, the tippy top categories. Our Lifetime Achievement Award. So this is, again, we obviously know there's a lot of award shows that have lifetime achievements, right? Where they try to praise somebody. And our attention has always been, since this category was first born back in the very beginning, this was a category I thought was very important for us to have, was for the focus to be on the lesser known persons, the overlooked persons, right? People that might have been overlooked in their career, overlooked by award shows, overlooked by general audiences. And so it always, for me, leads to a lot of, I think, very good nominees. It leads to really good discussions as well after the fact. And so our nominations this year, I don't know why I said it that way, our nominees for our Lifetime Achievement Raven Award this evening are Paul Giamatti, who this year was in The Holdovers. Nicolas Cage. What else can be said about Nicolas Cage? Zac Efron, especially for his later work. The fact that over his time since being in High School Musical, he has done some pretty great things. Jim Caviezel, who this year was in Sound of Freedom. And J.K. Simmons. So I think a very good list of people. There's obviously been 5 other winners, so 5 other actors that we have already shown love and attention to. And I think that all of them deserve. I think Zac Efron might be a little too young for him, might be a little too early for him to be nominated, but he did get some nominations. And hey, his work in The Iron Claw was good enough to where I think he's definitely now in that discussion. He's done a lot of other independent films where he's shown himself to be a very capable actor, and I can't wait to see what he is able to do next. And I believe he's actually in that show with John Cena that John Cena was probably promoting during the whole streaking thing, and everything like that. But a lot of good people on here, especially when you think about people who've had just amazing careers. Paul Giamatti, Nick Cage. What else can we say about Nick Cage? Jim Caviezel, J.K. Simmons, but there's only one who can be the most overlooked, who can be the true Lifetime Achievement Raven Award winner. And so this year, our Lifetime Achievement Award, Most Overlooked Raven Award, goes to, and I know some people will probably be pretty happy about this because I'm happy that the actor here and the connection that they have to a film that has not gotten a lot of love tonight at the Ravens has won previously, but still happy to say it is no other than Jim Caviezel. Congratulations, Jim Caviezel. He has played Jesus Christ in The Passion of the Christ, one of the best films, especially one of the best faith films ever made, if not the best faith film ever made, and also just a very solid film altogether. Very solid career, has been overlooked for most of his career, and I think Sound of Freedom, very much overlooked. And it was also a very strong performance from him. You have in the very beginning of the film him as a character watching some very disturbing footage of kids being maltreated, and the way that his eyes tell the heartbreak that you can tell his character is going through, having to watch that nonsense, to watch that disgusting stuff. I mean, it takes a very strong, capable actor. I cannot wait for the sequel to The Passion that is being worked on with him and Mel Gibson. I can't wait to see what he's able to bring as the resurrected Lord. And I can't wait to see the other projects that he has going forward as well. So again, congratulations to Jim Caviezel for winning this year our Lifetime Achievement Award and being very overlooked. And so I'm happy to say he has gotten some support here. So this was also, again, competitive for quite a bit. 27.8% going to Jim Caviezel. 21% actually tied between J.K. Simmons and that's the vote there for Nicolas Cage as well. Zac Efron getting 9.7% of the vote, 19.3% going to Paul Giamatti. So I think that the percentage-wise actually makes a lot of sense to me that the younger person on here who hasn't done as much, right, Zac Efron getting a bit lower, but still awesome to see some love and support here. But glad that Jim Caviezel was able to win this award. I think it's well-deserved for sure. All right. Now we're down to it, everybody. We're about to end this thing strong. So this is, and I love this title, and this year was a special year because we finally added to the title. We made it even longer, which is the whole point of it being as ridiculous as possible. So this year, in our Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, and Zack Snyder Award for Excellence in Crap World Building. These are the worst of the worst. These are the worst films of the year in every single way. It's not about being overrated, being underrated. It's not about necessarily being political. It's all about your movie was just bad. Your movie was one of the worst films to come out in 2023. And so the worst films of the year, the nominees for the Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, and Zack Snyder Award for Excellence Crap World Building are Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Mania. Barbie, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Rebel Moon, Part 1, and The Marvels. I was happy that this year, deciding to add Zack Snyder also happened to coincide with a Zack Snyder movie getting nominated for this category this year. And this truly is a great collection of some of the worst films that came out this past year. But there can only be one worst film. There's one that's just worse than all of them put together, and it might surprise you. For some, it won't be a surprise. For some, it will be a surprise, because this year, the prestigious winner of the Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, and Zack Snyder Award for Excellence in Crap World Building goes to none other than the worst film of 2023, which is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So congratulations to James Mangold. James Mangold, you did it, man. You did it. You went out of your way to go after people on Twitter, to go after the salty nerds, and now you have won the most prestigious award of all. The worst film. You have had the worst film of 2023, according to our Raven Awards audience. So thank you to everyone who voted in this category. This was a well-deserved win. I thought Barbie was going to get it. I thought Barbie was going to get so much hate, and it did, obviously. It's won a lot of the bad categories, but it won it where it was appropriate, right? Being much more woke, being overrated, things like that. This movie, though, on paper, is such a worse movie in so many different ways. And the fact that they decided to put the name Indiana Jones on the title just makes it that much worse. So, again, very prestigious award this year going to Indiana Jones. And, this was definitely somewhat competitive, but Yeah, not as competitive as you would think it would be, right? Look at here. Indiana Jones got 39.2% of the vote. 23.9% went to The Marvels. 15.3% went to Rebel Moon. 9.1% for Ant-Man. 10.8% for Barbie. So Barbie wasn't even one of the top vote getters here. Just shows you how people get it. They understand everything about this. So again, congratulations to Indiana Jones. You are the worst film of 2023. And shout out once again to James Mangold. You have the worst film ever. Worst film of the year. We should say that much. But it's probably also one of the worst films ever made as well. Congratulations, good sir. All right. And that means we've gotten into it, everybody. So again, keeping things pretty consistent here. We're almost at the 2.5 hour mark. Longest stream I've done on this channel in some time, but well worth it for the Ravens. And again, I love this show. And before we do this final category, I just wanted to again thank everyone out there. Thank the mods. Thank Laura. Thank Orange Hat as well for always being here, always being supportive, for keeping things in line as the chat falls behind quite a bit. And after this award is announced, I will go back in the chat one more time just to get some last minute thoughts and conversations going before ending things, because I do need a bit of a break. My back is killing me this weekend. It's feeling okay right now, but I definitely need to probably put some ice on it before going to bed. But let's do this thing. Let's do it. You ready? I'm ready. So, the best movie of the year. And one thing that we do with this category, if you voted, you know, this is rank choice voting, meaning that it's not just about who you chose as your number one spot. It also is about who you chose number 2, 3, 4 spots, because all about who had the highest value, who had the highest, the best average, the best performing average. Okay. And this year we had some pretty close races. All right. Let's go into it then. The nominees for best movie of 2023 are Oppenheimer, Godzilla -1, Killers of the Flower Moon, Gran Turismo, The Sound of Freedom, The Iron Claw, John Wick Chapter 4, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, The Holdovers, Tetris. So, very strong list this year. And what I love about this especially, and again, because the nominations were especially very dominant in certain films categories, it meant smaller films were actually able to creep in. And I gotta give a huge shout out, once again, a huge thank you to my group over on Critic Lists, my Raven Awards committee, who helped be able to finish some of the nominations that were incomplete because of not having enough nominees. And that's why films like Holdovers and Tetris were able to get in, actually. And it made me very happy because they really are some of the best films of the year. Holdovers and Tetris, these are the only nominees, only nominations this year for the Ravens. And they were fantastic. Those are also films I've been showing on the Discord server as well. But again, a great year in film, as bad as it was, right? There were some real stinkers that came out last year. There were also a lot of really solid films that came out too. And there's obviously some that aren't even on this list that might be on yours, that were even maybe on mine. But these really were some of the best films that came out for all these different reasons. But there can only be one winner. So whereas Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny was the worst film of the year, the best film of 2023, according to our Ravens voters. And the winner of the Raven, the big Raven, the biggest Raven of them all, for best film of 2023 is none other than, I'm sure you've guessed it, Godzilla -1. Wow, oh wow, oh wow. What a night for Godzilla, topping off its completely insane run, taking almost every single category it was nominated in a positive way, and now taking the top spot as well. But it's important also to add further context to this, right? So obviously, congratulations to the entire team behind Godzilla -1. No real surprise at this point, but still a solid movie. A lot of people ended up seeing it, and I think it's because this was one of the few films that people actually saw in theaters that the film got as much love as it did. In addition to it, of course, being a very good movie. Never would have thought a Godzilla film would be winning this award, but hey, here we are. But as I said, one of the things I love about this category is the way the voting happens. And so just to show you what the ranking was, all right? So if you had a different horse in the race, now you actually get to see not just where it got, how many number one votes did it get versus anyone else, right? This is why I like doing the ranking, because it shows you, okay, here's what the actual love is for these different movies. How many got those 1 through 4 spots in people's lists? So first off, the number 10 spot was Killers of the Flower Moon, which had an average rating of 6.5 out of 10. Number 9 spot went to Gran Turismo with 6.2. Number 8 spot went to Tetris with 6.1. Number 7 spot went to The Holdovers with 6.0. Was happy to see that because it was a film that no one saw. I'm hoping that part of the movie watches that we did this week help people rank that a little higher on their last votes. Number 6 spot went to John Wick Chapter 4 with a 5.6 rating. Number 5, going into the top 5 for the year, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 with a 5.3 rating. So pretty strong there. Number 4 went to Sound of Freedom. Happy to see this get into the top 4, 5.22. And yes, 5.22 because you know what the number 3 movie was? Iron Claw with 5.15. That's how close 3 and 4 were to one another. So Sound of Freedom getting 5.2, Iron Claw getting 5.5. I was so happy to see this film get that much higher on the list because, again, my favorite film of the year, and it is freaking solid to boot. Number 2 went to Oppenheimer with 4.7 ranking. So that means, again, as people ranking it 1 out of 10, the average ranking for it was around 4.7. And then the number 1 film, of course, being Godzilla Minus One at 4.3. What was interesting about this was Godzilla was in the lead, like consistently throughout the entirety of this. And towards the end, Oppenheimer started to catch some ground. I actually thought Oppenheimer had a chance of maybe even taking the number 1 spot. But look how close that was, right? 4.7 versus 4.3. It's very, very close in the whole rank choice voting. And so again, Godzilla Minus One winning the top award here tonight. And as that was all going on, I do got to jump over to this because holy crap, dude. This is so incredibly generous, dude. Mr. Roy dropping a $200 super chat saying, great show. Sorry I haven't been active online lately. I'm crazy busy at work. Dude, Mr. Roy, seriously, thank you very much, man. And also, you just reminded me as well, I need to get you set up. I need to get I might have to get one of the movie playlists set up tonight because I know that there's a movie that you want to watch, series of movies that you want to watch. So I might have to get the movie stream going tonight. But dude, Mr. Roy, thank you very much, man. So incredibly generous. You have been a supporter on the channel for such a long time. And thank you for reaching out, man. And yeah, I'm hoping that the movie watch parties will be a way for us to be able to kind of reconnect with just movies and things like that. It's one of the things I've been loving about it. And now that I know that there's a way for me to set things up to work and for it to be something that I don't have to necessarily be like, in the actual chair. And I can actually watch now because I have a separate profile that I can now watch with my phone. I think will also help with that too. So yeah, Mr. Roy, thank you so very much for your incredible love, support. I appreciate that so much, man. So again, thank you. And yeah, that is the Ravens. And if you want to see a fun chart, let me go ahead and put this up. So you know how each of these have had charts? Here's the only way I could get the chart for the end because of it being 10 movies to fit on the screen. Oh no! Nightmare fuel for many. But yeah, those are the Ravens, everybody. Whew, we did it. All right, let's go into the chat and get some last comments before we end things, as it just hit 10 p.m. here, and I'm tired. Let's see. Abomination says, I think Critical Drinker said his movie was $250,000. Yeah, definitely think that will probably be something that will come up at the Ravens next year. Bryant Barth, what's going on? Watching the Oscars. Once again, the Oscars sucked. Yes, why would you waste your time watching the Oscars? Master Gaming, I want to view my results at the Ravens bowling. If you were paying attention, Master of Gaming, hopefully you were watching the entire show and not just wanting to win something. Some shade thrown. Because, as I said, I did not have time to rank those. So I'm going to get to the chat first, and if I feel like I have the time to do anything, I will count that up live on stream. Kimberly G says, I entered Ravens bowling, but I'm doing terribly. Hey, you never know. If you did well in the right categories, that's all that matters. It's not about how many you get right. It's not about doing 5 for 24 or 19 for 24, because if you miss out on the big categories, that's going to be the bigger cost. All right, let's see. Slicer says, I skipped Expendables because of the ritual blood drinker, Nis Fox. Imagine if Gina Carano had been in the film instead, would have been bad. Oh, I didn't even know about that. Glad I missed it. Kimberly G, I picked Godzilla, but Sisu was good for that, but agreed. I thought the trailer was better, though. That's one of those films where the trailer actually was better for me. Mr. Roy was happy with that. Prince Screen, Godzilla sweep. It did. It did indeed. Abomination, I thought the actual budget was like 13. I went based on reported budgets. I know that some of the films mentioned, there are other things that were, potentially there, but yeah. Laura says, I got to run. Have a good one. Laura, thank you for being here the whole time. Appreciate it. Yeah, I know a lot of people do like Sisu. Hardwick went 14 out of 20 at that point. Might have to rewatch. Yeah, again, it's one that did not age as well. Actually, no, when I first saw it, I thought it was better. Sorry, I thought the trailer was better. Remember, Sci-Fi, I'm way late today, but I do see that Jeremy won Shill of the Year, so all is well. Yeah, and I'll get the winners up on the website like I do for the other films already there from previous shows sometime this week. Let's see. Godzilla -1 wins. You love to see it. I know a lot of people did. Hardwick was down to 14 out of 21. Godzilla crushes all competition, says Joe Horn. Agreed, says Victor Fontaine. Nefarious, for just being two men in a room, had great dialogue between them. Really well written. Agreed. Abomination Rebel Moon didn't get nominated for Best Story. Shenanigans. Gary Banjo, Sandwich, Godzilla crushing it with a monster haul at the Ravens this year. Seriously, one of the most dominant performances that we have seen at the Ravens in quite some time. I know that Top Gun Maverick had a very dominant performance the year that it came out. I don't think it was as dominant as this, because with Godzilla, you were able to get into so many different categories because of the size of its budget. Top Gun Maverick couldn't get into the low budget category, for instance. So yeah, for sure. So people were happy with the Lifetime Achievement Award as well. Well earned. Yeah, Jim Caviezel earned it for sure. Hardwick, 14 out of 22. I would have gone with Paul Giamatti or Jim Caviezel. Yeah, I think so many of them deserved there. Master Gaming, happy Rachel Zegler and Jim Caviezel won. Yeah. Cthulhu, come on, Rebel Moon. Yeah, it was bad, but it was not the worst. Yeah, Dial of Destiny. People were the craptastic winner. Yes. Down 14 to 23, says Hardwick. Abomination. They're going to release the R edit of Rebel Moon and Rebel Moon 2. Would they both get nominated next year? Dude, they could. They totally could. If they got a 2024 release, they are eligible to be nominated. My voting was not in vain, says Carl Jacobs. Well deserved for Indy 5. Agreed. For Sci-Fi, they had Indy trying to save history so that the mustached man stayed on his historical course. How could that not win? Agreed. Right? Not including the top tier movies, what would your pick as best movie of the year? I think I've already talked about my favorite films of 2023, if that's what you're talking about, because Iron Claw, Holdovers, those are up there. JJ wanted John Wick 4. This is just before the reveal. Godzilla wins, says Orange Chat. Wayward Noodle says, boo, I wanted JK, but I dig Jim. Yeah, again, I liked all of them in that category. Virtual Fireball, oh man, come on. It's Sound of Freedom, not The Sound of Freedom. Come on, bro. Tetris was amazing, Wendy. I totally agree. And that's the reason why I'm doing the movie screenings, because yeah, it's stuck behind Apple TV, so no one can see it. J.S. Pena, long live the King Queen's clean sweep, and ending at 15 out of 24. Not a bad performance. Hardwick, not a bad performance. J.S. Pena, still need to watch Tetris and the Holdovers. Definitely will be doing more movie watches with those films featured for sure. Prince Green Godzilla has swept the award. Something gives me the idea Godzilla X Kong won't have the same. No, it won't. Monsterverse films do not do nearly as well in the Ravens, and for good reason. We were Noodle, the worst film in the last 10 years. What's the worst film in the last 10 years? Sound of Freedom beats Mission Impossible once again, says Prince Green. Yeah. Southeastern Kaiju, only movie I saw 5 times, Godzilla -1. Wowza, yeah. That was a great show, everybody. It was a lot of fun. Thank you, General Grievous, for being here. It was another awesome year. Ravens rule, Oscars drool, yes. When and where will the Raven winners be announced? Depends on how I am feeling in just a couple minutes. Cthulhu, thank you for the show, and hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Wendy Hunter, thank you for the Ravens. I highly enjoyed it. I'm glad that you did. Kimberly G, I got 9 right, but if they were highly ranked, meaning if they were your number 24, 23, 22, that could make the difference. Oscars suck. Agreed. Keck44, Morak, great show again. Thanks for all the work. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Wayward Noodle, go Godzilla. Yes. Super. Been lurking throughout the night. Thanks so much for staying up late for us, putting up another great Ravens Awards. Until next time, Odin. Yes, indeed. God bless to you. Kimberly G. Raven Show is always fun. Thanks for the number crunching and charts. No problem. We love charts here on OMB Reviews. Hyper, and dang it, missed the stream. Hyper, where you been, brother? I'm late, but glad to see Godzilla getting love from the Ravens. Hugo M, what's going on? Rob D, did the Tetris movie go into the fact that it basically was the reason for the Game Boy? Yes, it talks about that. And I did not know because, again, I was not active in gaming or really active at all at that time in history. And so it's one of these very interesting films that I loved. For sci-fi, I haven't watched any new movies this year, but I've been playing Final Fantasy Rebirth since 29th. Hollywood is just not that important anymore. Hey, I totally get it. The R, have a good one. I got a Rumble Rant. Thank you, King Kane Rumsky. As you all know, always know, I don't get those right away. So Victor Fontaine, brother, thank you very much for the $20 Rumble Rant. Saying, oh, another great Raven stream. Add this one to the popcorn bucket money and reward yourself with a Dune Part 2 4K Steelbook, the front runner for the 7th Annual Raven Awards. Hey, I think it'll definitely be up there, Victor Fontaine. So again, thank you so much for that very generous Rumble Rant. And what I will say is I want the popcorn bucket, but I don't know if I'll have a chance to get one because they sold out of them opening night. I assume they've gotten more. But hopefully this week I'll have some time to go back and go to the theater just to see if they have it. Anyway, so I'm at the point now where we're ending this. I will crunch the numbers. So if you are one of the persons that filled out a predictions ballot, I will be emailing the winners. So don't email me, don't contact me, don't ask me what's going on. I will crunch the numbers and then I will email the winners. Probably won't email you until tomorrow, so don't be looking out for one tonight. But I'll be picking the top 3 winners, and I'll let you know what your total score was as well. And then that way you'll know, again, the options. So start thinking about what you would want to claim first. It's obviously going to be first come, first serve. So the choices are going to be John Wick 1 through 4. So I got 2 of those where it's all 4 movies on Blu-ray. It's a special collector's edition. In fact, let me see. Yeah, special collector's edition. And I've got 2 4K steelbooks for The Equalizer, the first film. And then I got a 4K steelbook for The Godfather as well. So I will again reach out to y'all and let you know who has won. And so stay tuned for that. John Espena says, wait, I don't think I filled out my predictions ballot. Is it already closed? Yeah. Jay Espena, what do you mean is it already closed? All the winners have been announced, brother. Come on, man. You trying to get in and get a movie? I'll have more giveaways on the channel in the future, maybe on Tuesday. Who knows? It's always random. I like keeping it that way. But again, shout out to Mr. Roy. Thank you again for that massive super chat, man. I love you, brother. Really does mean a lot. Wayward Noodle, Intoxication Gaming. Thank you all for y'all super chats. Low Watermark, thank you also for the Hundy and the $10, $110 super chats that you gave throughout the evening as well. It really does also mean a lot, but my back is hurting. My voice is tired. Might need to make some tea before going to bed. But anyway, seriously, the Ravens is always so much fun. If you want the Ravens to continue to grow and be awesome, share this video out. Let people know. Share your experiences. And most importantly, participate. The best thing that you can do is when the nominations ballot goes out, to put out some nominees. When the ballot goes out, to fill out the ballot. And I will be working on this week getting out quickly the 2025, or I guess the 2024 Ravens for the films in 2024 starter ballot to try and get some early nominations in, kind of a rolling nomination process. And I will try to find a way that makes it as easy to use as possible for all persons. So that way we can get a bit of a short list going to make it a lot easier for next year's 7th Annual Raven Awards. Next year will be number 7, everybody. And we've already had a couple of fun things coming out in theaters. Dune Part 2, of course, is going to be everyone's attention. But we got this month alone films like the next Ghostbusters movie coming out. You also have the film Cabrini, which I personally really liked. Actually, not even going to be a low-budget movie because it costs $50 million. That's a whole other story. But, all right, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I love you. I love you. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. Thank you all for helping me boycott the Oscars. That's what it's all about. It's all about boycotting the Oscars because they've become a joke and have been for a long time, and having fun. I hope that y'all had fun. Smash the like button. Share this video out with your friends as well. Leave some comments below with any suggestions that you have, especially if you are a technical person and can think of different ballots, websites, and things like that to collect information that I can then use to, again, have a better way of forming shortlists in the future for future ballots for the next year's Raven Awards. So anyway, that's going to be it for me, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. A blessed Sunday. Still is Sunday, so blessed Latare Sunday, everybody out there. That is the fourth Sunday of Lent. Hope your Lent is going well. And again, I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. And I'm just so happy that there's even a small group of people who enjoy these things. And it makes me want to keep doing them, and I can't wait for next year's Ravens. So you guys are awesome. Have a wonderful rest of your night, everybody. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members for the month of March, starting off with Father Luca Illich, Rosetta Allen, check out her YouTube channel being Eagle Rider. Miss Mon Muses, check out her YouTube channel as well by the same name. Matt317, check out his Twitch channel by the same name. Mr. Roy and the K-Man, check out the K-Man's website at xtheboundaries.co. If you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, or if you want your name listed at the end of every live stream and video, make sure to check out the top link in the video description on how you can find out where to join on Patreon, Subscribestar, YouTube channel memberships, pretty much anywhere that you can think of that you would have as a mainstream source to be able to support the channel. You have the means to do so, and you get also special perks like having access to an exclusive podcast that I do every single month, access to a giveaways channel that I host on my Discord channel, and also, of course, the ability to have your channel shouted out at the end of every single live stream. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, God bless.